Scratch that. Jeff and the Ryan Armagost Show. Billy's out today. He'll be back on Monday. Don't worry, all those that like to debate with Bill, he ain't going nowhere. Just tended to a little family activities today. But Ryan Armagost, House Republican whip here in Colorado, representing the great district number 64 up near Johnstown, Meade. Where else, Ryan?
Got Berthoud, Milliken, West Greeley, Northwest Evans. Good district.
It is a great district, man. That is awesome up there. You even got the Buckies.
Yeah, got the Buckies.
You got to be the luckiest lawmaker in Colorado.
It's some bragging rights, that's for sure.
Dude. And I imagine you've been there, right?
Yeah.
Were you there when it opened?
Yeah, I got to be there at the grand opening. That was awesome.
So we went up there, and like a month afterwards, all the way from Elizabeth, just took the trip up there for like an hour to get there. And it was jam-packed. It was, I mean, even a month after its grand opening. What a gift to Colorado Buckies is.
It's insane.
That is cool. So Ryan Armagost co-hosted with me. He's brought some friends along. Rebecca Keltie's going to join us. Ryan Gonzalez, Dan Woog, all members newly elected to the Colorado House of Representatives. We're going to be talking with them. George Bauchler's going to join us. We're going to see if Greg Lopez can join us. He was originally scheduled to join us at 6:35. He just texted me, said, Jeff, heading into a meeting with Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. Big debate. Holy cow. Big debate happened. This thing blew up all over X. It kept me up all night last night. The debates happening internally with the Republican Party over debt ceiling spending is just wild. Just give you a sense. Matt Gaetz defending Nancy Mace, Jack Posobiec fighting Nancy Mace, Trump tweets against Chip Roy, but Boebert votes for Trump's continuing resolution. Boebert and Chip Roy are friends. What's going on there? Other social media going after Chip Roy over this debt ceiling. Mace voted to send Steve Bannon to jail. Massey and Rand Paul are standing against the debt ceiling. Holy cow. I feel like my mind is just confused by all of this right now, but we would love to hear from you. This is the debate I knew was going to happen. And it was a debate I wanted to have with DJT in the presidency, right? Because we could have Kamala Harris coming up, and they don't care at all about the debt ceiling or spending. They would have just blown right through it, spend big check, continue to drive our country into debt. But Republicans, committed to limited government and fiscal responsibility. Yes, we're going to debate over this. Welcome to Republican control. We're not just going to spend our kids' future into oblivion. We're actually going to have a conversation about this, and I want to hear from you. What do you think of the continuing resolution in Washington, D.C.? Would you have voted for it? Lauren Boebert voted for the second iteration yesterday. Greg Lopez voted no against it, refuses to allow a debt ceiling to continue to just expand. So phone lines are open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. All right. First, news and comment with Blake Olson. Blake, glad to have you back. What the heck is a free kick, dude? You got to help me out with what happened yesterday during the Broncos game.
So that was a fair catch kick. That is a rare rule in the NFL. The Broncos lost to the Chargers last night, by the way, in Thursday Night Football, 34-27. So rare rule. If you fair catch a punt, you have the option to free kick it, meaning you can kick a field goal, in essence, with no rush. There's not a rush. You line up like it's a kickoff. You can't use a tee, and it has to be kicked off the ground like a field goal, but there is no rush and not a lot of pressure on the field goal kicker. So in that rare opportunity that you fair catch a ball in the opponent's end of the field, you may, and you don't have a lot of time left, you may want to try to get 3 points. And that's what they were able to do last night.
And it was like the first time it happened in like 50 years.
Yeah, I think the last time was 1976. The Bills and the Chargers, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
And I remember. I think I was talking to Jason Elam about this in the late 90s, the Hall of Fame kicker for the Broncos. Right. And we talked about it, I think, also happening in the late 60s, I think 1968. But here's how it went down last night.
Darius Davis, who's dangerous, is back. The Chargers try to set up a return. Fair catch is called for. He goes down. Ball is loose. And whatever happens here with the flag down,
they can either. So there was a flag. He calls for the fair catch, which, it would have been a 72-yard kick at that point. But because the Broncos didn't give him any room, on the fair catch, the halo rule, 15-yard penalty, and then that basically makes it a 57-yard kick. Now, remember, when you don't have to, there's no rush. You don't have to snap the ball. It's just lined up like a kickoff. So that's a huge advantage. So Harbaugh takes advantage of it, and here's what they did.
Snap the ball, or they can do a free kick for a field goal, which we haven't seen in forever.
We just said crazy things are going to happen.
1976.
Can he bang it through? On its way, it is. Yep.
Made history tonight.
Yes.
So there you have it. I mean, I would probably the next rare, or maybe the most rare rule or play that you would see is an extra point, a kick, in a line up to kick an extra point. If it's blocked and the team that blocks it ends up in the end zone and the kicking team tackles them, that's actually a safety for 1 point. That rarely happens as well. So, great job by the Chargers. Unfortunately for the Broncos, they couldn't hold on to the lead. And the Chargers take advantage and
interference, non-call.
See, how did I know it would come down to the pass interference? Yeah. I knew you were going to bring up that, Jeff.
Well, did you think that it was a good non-call?
I do.
Really?
But,
those. Dude, his arms are all up in his face and his grill. He's even grabbing one of his arms.
Dude, if you have a lead like that and you lose it, no matter what, I don't even look at the officials.
Yeah, that's fair. But you think that should have been called, though, right?
Well, I mean, you could make an argument either way, especially if you're a Chargers fan, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. But I thought with Bill out here, there wouldn't be as much arguments. But now, Blake, you and I are going to have to get in on that.
I know. Well, I'll go back and we'll talk about that one. But a lot of fun last night. Glad Ryan is here with us this morning, and I'm glad I'm able to talk to you, Jeff, because I was going crazy on Thursday because we had some technical issues, and
it seemed like a regional internet outage, right?
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. Northern Colorado. Ryan may know. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
he gets briefed on all these secrets. I don't know. You get elected, and this book of secrets is passed.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. It doesn't happen.
I just want to know when that construction near Johnstown and Meade will be finished.
Don't get me started on that. Good old CDOT.
Oh man,
they just need more money, right? That's just right.
Yeah,
that's all.
The instead of doing it in sequential order, they make these bottlenecks in just the most random places that pop up, and then by the time that's finished, they're going to need to start construction again on the first one that they did a decade ago. So it's just going to be this perpetual cone zone in northern Colorado.
Right. Continuous. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
hey, we should all live our lives like CDOT and just keep improving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Constant improvement.
Constant cone zone in your life.
Cone zone is right, man. All right. Thank you very much. Good to have Ryan here. 24 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 60 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
They got scared because President Musk told them, President Musk said, Don't do it. Don't do it. Shut the government down. Imagine. What does he know?
Nut job lefties like her, Rosa DeLauro, upset and beside themselves because you know what? They want a pay raise and they don't want to. They want to be able to opt out of Obamacare.
Inflation is so bad.
Yes,
the inflation they caused, they need. They need a payment for.
Right, they create all this mess. Shut it down. Shut it. Republicans trying to come up with a new plan to avoid a government shutdown at the midnight deadline tonight. Dozens of Republicans joined Democrats last night in voting down a revised government funding bill that included a 2-year suspension of the debt limit. House Speaker Mike Johnson says Republicans will come up with another solution. And the left is all upset because Elon posted his thoughts on X, and the American people now have a voice.
Yes.
Right?
So
is that the way you see it?
That's exactly right. And I want to talk that Rosa DeLauro.
Yes.
So
with her purple hair.
Exactly. You want to have some fun this morning? Go Google her.
Yes.
And then click on images. Okay.
Oh, man.
She's a total Looney Tune. She looks like an evil character out of Batman, right? Like
no doubt,
some form of penguin, like evil character in Batman.
A Pixar cartoon almost.
Yeah, yes. Pixar. Well, what's the one with the they have the skinny legs and the big fat bodies? What it's kind of it's a recent Pixar.
I don't know. My son's in the studio. Does he know that one? I can't. Despicable? Oh, is it Despicable?
Despicable. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Despicable Me. She looks like one of the characters on there.
She does. So here's the
one of the villains.
It gets even more crazy. Okay. Do you know which district in America she represents?
Has to be Connecticut.
It's in Connecticut. Yep. Guess which voters in America decided to send this Looney Tune to Congress? Yale. Yale. She represents New Haven, Connecticut, which is Yale, right? Isn't that where Yale is? I think that's where Yale is.
I think you are correct. Yes. But that would make sense. I mean, Connecticut makes sense.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yale is in New Haven. And so our most elite thinkers in America, this is why nobody trusts these Ivy League people anymore. They put Looney Tune Rosa DeLauro into office, and she gets mad that Elon Musk can rally and organize. But these are the same people, Blake, that wanted to just push Kamala Harris into the presidency, or complaining that Elon Musk has never been voted on. Yeah, neither did Kamala Harris. You just picked her and tried to push her into the presidency.
I am so glad you brought that up because nice job. And you didn't even see the rundown. Here's what Whoopi thinks. Okay.
I think Elon Musk believes he's president. I do.
Well, you've been calling him vice president.
I've called him vice president. I called him president because I don't know what JD is doing. I hardly ever say. I don't remember the last time we even talked about JD.
You're right. He's planning the presidency when he's going to get rid of Trump.
So you think it's Musk Vance?
Possible.
Hey, you know who? Stay away from the stairways. Because people put the leg out to trip you going down the stairs. Watch out.
See, the only ones who do coups are the lefties.
Yes.
I mean, they're the experts at the coups and getting and placing their favorites in position
and shutting down free speech. Ryan knows a little bit about that at the Colorado State Capitol.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
we get that on the daily.
She was asking about JD Vance. Here's what JD Vance had to say yesterday, or maybe not. Or maybe.
Mr. Vance, will you accept any deal that does not include a debt limit increase?
Look, I'll say one thing. The Democrats just voted to shut down the government, even though we had a clean CR, because they didn't want to give the president negotiating leverage during his first term, or during the first year of his new term. And number two, because they would rather shut down the government and fight for global censorship bullshit. They've asked for a shutdown, and I think that's exactly what they're going to get.
38 Republicans voted against it as well.
So Vance handling that. What do you think of that, Jeff?
So, dude, this is the $1 million question. Most of the time, when I post a poll on X, and I've got one up now on this issue, it's like 96% conservatives, right? So, for instance, would you accept a $1,000 bounty to turn in an illegal immigrant? People are like 96%, absolutely. In fact, you don't even need to pay me. Okay, this one, do you agree with Trump that Congress needs to push the debt ceiling to January 30th, 2027 is like 50-50? And this is, and I've got over 115 votes on this one. You can go to x.com/Jeff Hunt and dive into this. This thing has split Republicans right down the middle.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
What would you do? Would you vote for this continuing resolution with the debt ceiling increase? Lauren Boebert voted for it. Greg Lopez voted against it.
I'm gonna go with Greg on this one.
Yeah.
How about you?
So, dude, I understand what. So, I mean, Heidi Ganahl was posting about this yesterday. She's with Trump on this. She's going, look, her argument is we're going to hit the debt ceiling with these tax cuts. So all of a sudden, we're not going to be pulling in initially as much revenue, which may adjust the debt issue, and therefore we may hit this debt ceiling, and it may be problematic. But, dude, I feel maybe Blake, you're as old as I am, Ryan, you're as old as I am on this stuff. It feels like we do this every year. It's like, we need to cut the deficit. We need to go after the deficit, and then we get down to brass tacks, and everybody starts going, the sky's falling. We're not going to be able to pay the military. We're not going to be able to pay our border agents. Kids with cancer are going to die if they don't get the money. And we just continue to march towards greater and greater debt. At some point, it's like we're all fathers. At some point, we sit down with our family and we just go, we don't have the money to go to Disneyland. We don't have the money to go out to eat. We have to cut, and we become adults in the room, and we guide our families with this. So I understand what Heidi's saying. I understand that Trump needs to have the freedom without the debt ceiling. But at the same time, it just feels like we constantly back away from the hard decisions about cutting the deficit and cutting our budget in this country. And at some point, you got to get serious about it.
That's why Calvin Coolidge was one of the greatest presidents of all time. Had that on his desk. And Newt Gingrich said that we've gone through this 21 times. 21 shutdowns since 1976. Not only was there a fair catch kick in 1976, there have been 21 shutdowns and nobody remembers them. So I say, shut it down. Gotta shut it down.
I'm with you on that one.
All right, I'll tell you what else is going on here, and I'll let you guys get going. Drivers are getting a bit of a break at the gas pump as they set out for their holiday road trips. AAA reports that the nationwide average price for a gallon of regular grade fuel is $3.05. That's up by 2 cents from a week ago, but still near the low for the year. The Arvada police say that a suspect is in custody after a person was injured in a shooting at a Big O tire store. Authorities say the incident happened around 3 o'clock on Thursday at a store near 52nd Avenue and Vance Street. According to the police, the shooting occurred when two employees got into a physical confrontation in one of the shop's service bays. The victim was transported to the hospital, and the incident is still under investigation. New York authorities are charging Luigi Mangione with murder. The man suspected, of course, of killing one of the top health insurance CEOs was also charged Thursday with stalking and using a weapon equipped with a silencer. The federal complaint claims Mangione traveled to New York City for the purpose of stalking and killing Brian Thompson on December 4th. All right, once again, the Chargers came to life in the second half to beat the Broncos 34-27 on Thursday night football. The Chargers improved to 9-6. They can clinch a playoff berth if Miami and Indianapolis both lose or tie this weekend. The Broncos drop to 9-6, and they need ties or losses from Miami, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis to clinch it. That's all. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 22 in Parker, 21 in Arvada, 24 in Denver, and it's 22 in Roosevelt, near where Ryan lives. Jeff and Billy continues. TGIF with Ryan. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
No major travel concerns for Colorado and surrounding areas today, Saturday, Sunday, and probably Monday. By Monday, there may be some snow showers in the high country, but for the most part, very quiet, very mild December weather. Temperatures will be upper 50s to the middle 60s today, 50s and lower 60s for Saturday, Sunday, 50s Monday and Tuesday. Looking at more in the way of clouds Monday and Tuesday, there's a chance maybe of a few showers, cloudy and colder Christmas Day. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
$50 gift cards from Rodizio Grill in Inglewood and downtown. Get them now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Ryan show. Catches you a little off guard. That's because Billy's out tending to some family. And today joining us, Ryan Armagost. He is the House Republican whip. What does a whip do? Why don't you inform our listeners on that?
The whip is pretty much the one that is helping regulate the message on the House floor, making sure that we have the messaging that we're wanting to get across, and basically steering the debate on the House floor and then in and outside the House floor for helping committees and helping everything with the policy getting to where it needs to go.
And you count all the votes. No surprises, right?
Right. Making sure everyone's present for votes, stuff like that.
Yeah. So whip being you're going to whip up the votes. You're going to chase down people because the leader, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, going into a legislative session, doesn't want any surprises. You go to the floor. We're going to debate. We know where our team stands. We know where their team stands. A good example of not knowing where your team stands is what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now with Mike Johnson, the speaker there, introducing a bill, and all the Republicans, at least around the first bill, going, I don't want anything to do with this. This is terrible. So he didn't know his own. We'll get into this a little bit later. I think Speaker Mike Johnson may be done here, but we'll cover that in a bit. But you are heading into this legislature with more people on your team.
Yes, indeed.
You were the mighty 19 last time. Mm-hmm. Now you're the mighty 22.
Mighty 22.
And one of those, by a measure of 3 votes, is Rebecca Keltie. She joins us on the Jeff and Bill show. By the way, you can see her smiling face if you go to 710 KNUS on X, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook. We're all there broadcasting the video. But Rebecca, congratulations on your win by 3 votes. That's wild. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill show.
Well, thank you guys, and good morning.
So talk to us about, first of all, that win I think it was a mandatory recount that took place, and then you come out 3 votes ahead. That's one house.
Yeah, that was it was enlightening, I gotta say. The whole recount process, everything that went down. Yeah, I was 6 ahead. Colorado history has never really changed that much in a recount, but for some reason mine did. And then when we went back to see why it changed so much, we realized that the machines had actually given 3 votes to my opponent, which shouldn't have gone to her. So by a hand or a physical recount or look at, we were able to say, well, these were supposed to be thrown out. They were overvoted and ballots that were spoiled. So we took those out and I won.
So you actually had to get that detailed into watching the recount and checking everything. Wow, that's pretty wild.
So stressful.
Yeah, right. So Rebecca Keltie, tell the folks about your district and your background briefly.
Sure. My district HC 16. So that the location of that is from Dublin down to Platte, pretty much 25 over to North Academy. At the bottom, it goes over to Powers a little bit. Kind of a strange looking little L. Once they redistricted it after the 2020 census, it flipped blue. And we were able to get back the 710 votes that we lost it by last time, and we added 3. So it's a great district. I don't have any bases in my district, but I got a lot of military, a lot of veterans, senior citizens, pretty much a great mixture of just about everyone in my district. So
and you have a military background, don't you?
I do. I did 21 years in the United States Navy. I retired in 2014. And I've got a great my background. I used to be a junior executive for Ross Perot, and I worked for the Department of Homeland Security. I worked for the Department of Defense, and I've had a great resume. So I was glad to be a good candidate.
Sounds like it. And it sounds like the people of your district are going to benefit this. Now, Ryan Armagost, who did she replace?
She replaced Stephanie Vigil, and this is definitely
there's like PTSD in his eyes right now when I bring up that name.
This is definitely a welcomed replacement. I mean, not only did we replace her, but we flipped the seat and we got just a solid representative like Rebecca. And I know, Rebecca, you've been through a roller coaster and getting here. What are you seeing as far as getting ready for the 2025 session?
After the election, I was so excited at the end of it, and it kind of, like you said, the roller coaster kind of sucked away a little bit of the fun out of it. But I am looking forward to getting to work. I think there's a lot of stuff that we can do, common sense that, as a team. I think that we're a really great team that we're going up there with the 22 of us, and I think we're going to bring common sense to Colorado. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So talking with Rebecca Keltie, she's the newly elected representative from House District 16. That's down in the Colorado Springs area, beating Stephanie Vigil, who was very, very progressive. Not quite the crazy Tim Hernandez, Elizabeth Epps side, but not far off.
Not far at all.
And so Colorado making a lurch towards common sense leadership down there. Now, last time it was the Mighty 19, guys, and you were in a super minority, which means you had even smaller representation on the committees, and they could pretty much do whatever they wanted down on the floor. Now they
on a daily basis.
They still have a majority, but not quite as much. What do you think the message was sent with you adding 3 more, including Rebecca Keltie, to the House of Representatives? You think Colorado maybe has hit rock bottom and is finally coming out of it?
I think it is. It's that rock bottom, just reckoning that everyone's having with, holy cow, look at the primaries, even the Democrat primaries. They voted out some of the Elizabeth Epps and Tim Hernandez. They got rid of some of the worst and most toxic progressive, not even progressive, but just blatantly socialist.
Marxist, communist, anti-Semites.
Yeah. And they got rid of them. And I think people are just saying, we can't have crazy and people that are making our laws. We have to replace it with lucid people that are able to do better things for Colorado, rather than just go in there on an activist message of trying to basically burn the place down from the inside out.
Now, Rebecca Keltie, newly elected representative from House District 16, the Colorado Springs area. Rebecca, what are your top 3 priorities as you head into your first term as a member of the House of Representatives?
Well, doing a lot of door knocking like we did. really the priorities for my district are, safety, affordability, and, protecting the rights, parental rights. I mean, there's quite a few things. I mean, I got a long list, but those are probably the top three. People want qualified candidates in there, or qualified representatives that are in there, and I think they've got that. And I think by sticking to what the people want, we can't go wrong.
Talking with Rebecca Keltie, she's newly elected representative from House District 16. All right, so we're just a few days or a few weeks from the start of the session, really. Like, it's the first week of January, second week of January?
The 8th, yeah.
8th. We kick it all off. Now, they passed something like 500 plus bills. I can't name a single one that actually improved my life. No. Most of them are just special interest party favors given back to the people who wrote campaign checks. So what do you expect to see from the Democrats who are in leadership of the Colorado House?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot less of the just over summary of legislation, because now we're in this, Colorado's in a deficit as well. So, I mean, we're not able to get bills across that are going to have any kind of a fiscal note attached, any kind of a bill attached to them. So I think it's going to shave a lot of the fat from what we see in our normal legislation.
Are we required by law here in Colorado to have a balanced budget?
Yes. It's in the
Thank
Constitution.
God.
Yeah.
Any chance DC would ever pick up something like that? You think? $36 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
So we have to have a balanced budget. So the long bill, which is the budget bill, has to meet the budget.
That's our
primary constitutional requirement?
Primary role in the legislation is to pass a balanced budget.
Wow. And so what happened? Why are we in a deficit?
Well, you get to see who runs the budget.
Yeah,
so,
right.
As much as we have a voice in the budget, it's clearly run, and overspending is clearly done by the Democrats, the now majority over the super majority. So hopefully we can help that a little bit now that we have our numbers back, that slight touch.
But I mean, there were some emergency appropriations, some spending bills that had, I remember talking with Barb Kirkmeyer, because we've had so many illegal immigrants and it's weighed on our school system, and schools are having to hire these extra teachers that speak Spanish, dual lingual teachers, that you had to reallocate some funds during the last session to address this. Is that the type of stuff that Colorado's facing?
Yeah. And they're going to have to, it all comes down to robbing Peter to pay Paul. We've been doing that for as long as I can remember, but it's going to be more and more of that in probably a way that doesn't please the Democrats this time. It's usually something that takes from the budget of things that we're trying to push for on the Republican side. Now they're going to have to also forfeit some of their happy money pockets as well to pay out of this deficit that we're in.
Talking with Ryan Armagost, he's filling in for Bill today. He's the House whip here in Colorado, so it's his job to run around and make sure that we know where everybody's going to vote on particular bills, as well as Rebecca Keltie. She's representative-elect from House District 16 down in Colorado Springs. That's a flip. That's one less Democrat heading to the state capitol here in a few weeks. Now, Rebecca, have you been giving your committee assignments? Do you know where you're going to be serving up there yet?
So my committee assignments is judicial and business. So I've got two committees, and I'm excited to get in there and start working, because there's a lot of stuff that we can do, especially for our small businesses and businesses here in Colorado. You know, they're feeling the pinch, they're feeling the hurt, and we got to do things within legislation to lessen that burden on them.
Well, great to speak with you, Rebecca Keltie. If you want to learn more about her, go to RebeccaKeltie.com. Her last name spelled KELTIE.com, and you can learn more about her there. One of the new Republicans heading up now the mighty 22. Rebecca, thanks so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show today.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too.
You
Thanks,
too.
Rebecca.
We're looking forward to seeing her leadership. A Navy woman.
Yeah.
That's cool,
Another
man.
veteran.
Yeah. She seems legit, and it does feel like we're moving away from the crazy.
Absolutely. Thank God.
I know. Well, we'll talk more about this. We've got more new lawmakers joining us, and we got George Bauchler joining us as well coming up soon. You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has unveiled what he calls his new border security strategy while at a ranch outside of Eagle Pass, near where the state is building a new operating base that will hold up to 2,300 National Guard troops. Abbott's plan is to launch a billboard campaign south of the border to dissuade migrants from crossing illegally and paying cartels to smuggle them in. The billboards have messages on them like, "How much did you pay to have your daughter raped?" and "Your wife and daughter will pay for their trip with their bodies." They will be put up in Mexico and Central America and will be in multiple languages like Spanish, Arabic, Russian, and Chinese. Abbott saying the billboards are a dose of tough medicine that will warn migrants that they will be arrested and thrown in jail if they cross illegally into Texas, and Trump will make sure they are deported after they're arrested. According to ICE, of the 270 illegal migrants deported this year, more than 88,000 of them had criminal histories, including more than tens of thousands guilty of sex crimes and 235 terrorists. Investigators in Baltimore County are looking into whether a shooting and car crash that left one person dead and 9 injured Tuesday night are connected to a nearby homicide earlier this month. Officials say all 10 of the victims were found inside of a flipped vehicle that burst into flames after crashing. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Aguayo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
$50 gift cards from Rodizio Grill in Inglewood and downtown. Get them now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Reindeer of all. I'm surrounded by all these Christmas lovers. So Bill, who's out today, he'll be back on Monday. Don't worry. It's the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. Ryan is House District 64, House Republican Whip here in Colorado. Marine. You never say former Marine. By the way, dude, when I joke about Jared Polis, I call him Jarhead. And I get text messages that are like, dude, don't call him that. That's ours. We're Marines. Don't attribute Jared Polis to us. Billy's all into Christmas music, like really into it, which is funny because I'm not. And then Adam's carrying on the traditions today. So here we go. I got to continue to listen to Christmas. It's not that I'm Grinchish. Just don't celebrate Christmas as much. Maybe my heart is 2 sizes too small. Great job, Adam, the producer here. John Korblish, Ryan Armagost here. We're talking with different lawmakers. George Bauchler is going to join us in a bit. Greg Lopez may be calling in. He has a meeting with Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, right now. If you didn't see the news late last night, 38 Republicans defied Trump by voting no on the failed spending bill. The deal roundly lost 235 to 174, only scoring 2 Democrat yes votes. A bill to avert a partial government shutdown that was backed by President-elect Donald Trump failed to pass. The House of Representatives on Thursday pushing Congress closer to a government shutdown. I mean, he pressed hard on this, even going after Chip Roy. Chip Roy, who was in our studios with Lauren Boebert like 2 months ago when they were talking about illegal immigration. Adam, play Chip Roy on this.
We are going to increase the debt ceiling, not just $4 trillion. That's false. We have spent $4.7 trillion in additional debt in the last 19 months. We're going to increase the debt by $5 trillion. That's what's going to happen right here by Republicans, increasing the debt $5 trillion. And what are you doing in the same bill? $110 billion unpaid for, because you never have any ounce of self-respect to go out and campaign saying you're going to balance the budget. And then you come in here and pass $110 billion unpaid for. On top of the $200 billion you did for WEP, you guys won't agree with that. But the fact of the matter is $330 billion. Congratulations, you've added to the debt since you were given the majority again on November 5th. It's embarrassing. It's shameful. Yes, I think this bill is better than it was yesterday on certain respects. But to take this bill yesterday and congratulate yourself because it's shorter in pages, but increases the debt by $5 trillion is asinine. And that's precisely what Republicans are doing. I'm absolutely sickened by a party that campaigns on fiscal responsibility and has the temerity to go forward to the American people and say, you think this is fiscally responsible. It is absolutely ridiculous. It also turns off PAYGO. It turns off the $1.7 trillion in automatic cuts under PAYGO, because this side of the aisle is profoundly unserious about actually reducing deficits, just as my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are profoundly unserious about reducing deficits. The entire body has been racking up debt for my entire life. $36 trillion, $1 trillion of interest. We rack up $1 trillion every 100 days. Now, what are we going to do about it? We're going to run around and talk about cutting taxes, but not doing what's necessary to cut the spending.
So that's Chip Roy on the floor of the House yesterday, leading an effort against a bill introduced by Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, that Donald Trump is supporting. So you're having a split here. Donald Trump posting on Truth Social, Chip Roy is just another ambitious guy with no talent. By the way, how's Bob Good doing? That was another guy that Donald Trump led a primary attack against. I hope some talented challengers are getting ready in the great state of Texas to go after Chip in the primary. He won't have a chance. So Donald Trump wants the debt ceiling, which puts some restrictions on the government's ability to push through it. It's basically your credit card spending limit. when that is triggered, the government can't spend additional money. It's run out of. We don't have a debt ceiling right now. We took it away. It's supposed to start again in January. Trump wants it pushed off until January of 2027. And fiscal conservatives in the House, led by Chip Roy, are saying absolutely not. We're not going to allow that to happen. Now, the argument from the Trump side is that when we implement our tax cuts, that is for a short time going to possibly increase the deficit until revenues come in to offset it from a more successful economy. So we can't have the debt ceiling there creating a problem. But Chip Roy and others, including Thomas Massie, Greg Lopez, and Rand Paul, saying at a certain point, you actually have to put greater restrictions on our government spending, and we can't allow this to happen. Where do you fall alongside this? Give me a call. Do you agree with President Trump? We need to push off the debt ceiling until 2027. Do you agree with Chip Roy, Thomas Massie, Rand Paul, that we have got to address our $36 trillion debt? No more unlimited spending coming from the federal government. Dan Kaplos, 720-819-5115. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. Welcome back to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. Santa Claus may be coming to your town. He ain't going to Washington, D.C. There's a bunch of naughty people there. We're going to see the government shut down, but maybe that's a good thing. Joe and Arvada is joining the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. Bill will be back on Monday. Don't worry. But, Joe, you'd like to see a little government shutdown, huh?
Good morning, Jeff. Yeah, whoa, I love the government shutdown. The only thing, though, is got to be careful, Republicans, because the Democrats wait till January 6th. They're going to be, I think they're going to make a move on, what is it, the 14th Amendment or whatever they're trying to do. I think this is going to give them some firepower to try to make another move on getting Trump out. Watch, they will do it.
So I don't disagree with you, Joe. It seems like we get to this point every year, right? Greg Lopez pointed this out yesterday. We've only passed 4 budgets in the last 40 years. We do these omnibus packaging where we just put everything together in one big bill. And then that allows Democrats to go, well, if you don't vote to support our spending on Planned Parenthood, for instance, kids with cancer are going to die. And so they do it because it's all packaged together. And then we don't even debate it. We just do this continuing resolution. Lauren Boebert pointed out yesterday that this type of baloney that Mike Johnson is pulling right now is the same reason Kevin McCarthy lost his job.
Yeah, he should lose his job. And I have an answer for that, too. The answer is Vivek Ramaswamy. Elon Musk is too busy running 40 companies and being the world's richest man to run the House. But Vivek, he's only a billionaire, so he's going to have the time to run, and he's so smart. He can understand parliamentary procedure, which none of the rest of them can, and also he can do what needs to be done and not be the corrupt henchman of the military-industrial complex like Mike Johnson.
Yeah. Well, and Joe, I want you to stick around. I'd love to continue the conversation at the top of the hour. Trump-backed spending bill voted down in the House with shutdown looming. The deadline is nearing to avoid a partial government shutdown. There could be a vote coming any minute now. We'll talk about this and a lot more. You're listening to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show, News Talk 710 KNUS. It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show on News Talk 710 KNUS. It's Friday, December 20th. Billy's out tending to some family things, so the House Republican whip, the guy who whips all those votes together here in Colorado, Ryan Armagost, representing the proud people of House District 64. That's up near Berthoud, Greeley, Johnstown, all that good part of Colorado. He's joining us live in studio. He's brought some friends along with him. We'll be talking to Ryan Gonzalez, one of the new Republican pickups here in Colorado as they move from the mighty 19 to mighty 22. But it's a beautiful day, guys, in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We got a whole hour planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this right here is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up in a second, we're going to hear from Blake Olson with news and comment. But what we're discussing is this debate happening in Washington, D.C. So initially, let me give you some background. Mike Johnston's the mayor of Denver. Mike Johnson is the Speaker of House. He introduces a 1,500-page negotiated bill with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and all the Democrats that was supposed to just continue the government operating the way it is. Well, House Republicans look at it, including Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and even Donald Trump, and go, this is a turd. We're not going to pass this thing. Are you kidding? It's got pay increases. It's got all this pork associated with it. Not a fan of it. So 1,500 pages, they cut it down to about 150 pages or so. Okay. Now, Trump supports the 150-page spending deal, but it's got an issue in it. It pushes the debt ceiling, which is supposed to come back in January. The debt ceiling is a restriction on government spending. It's basically your credit card spending limit. Not exactly, but it gives you a kind of sense of what it did for the government. You hit it, no more. You can't spend any more. Well, fiscally conservative House Republicans like Chip Roy, Greg Lopez, Thomas Massey, and others said, we're not going to push this off to 2027. We do this all the time. We get this continuing resolution. In fact, what we learned yesterday on this show, Lauren Boebert told us, is that we're still doing Nancy Pelosi's spending package from years ago. We never introduced a new bill. We never had any debate. We're continuing to fund things like Planned Parenthood, and here comes a continuing resolution, which just keeps it going. We're not going to do it. And we're going to put caps on our federal government spending. So Chip Roy and others say no. In fact, 38 Republicans voted against this Trump-backed bill. Now, Trump's not happy. Trump's argument is that once we get into office in January, we're going to make some tax cuts. When we do that, okay, it's going to temporarily press up our deficit because we're not taking in revenue. Now, once those tax cuts are implemented, our economy is going to do so much better that revenue is going to come in. We don't have to worry about it. We're going to reduce our federal spending. But I can't have this cap on me when we first start. So that's the debate happening in Washington, D.C. right now. Now, listen. Here's Lauren Boebert yesterday on the debt ceiling. So, Adam, let's play the audio of Lauren Boebert on the debt ceiling yesterday.
Of course, President Trump has weighed in. He wants us to include a debt ceiling raise in this. And I understand his position. He's saying, look, this is Biden's mess, not mine. Don't bring this into my administration. But I believe that we can take care of the debt ceiling in what we call reconciliation and have that ready for him January 20th. We could have real reforms, real cuts with a Republican majority supporting it, and have President Trump sign that January 20th. I don't think it's possible to have a debt limit deal by Saturday.
So that's Lauren Boebert. Here's what's wild. Okay, so Lauren Boebert represents Congressional District 4. Is that your district?
No. CD8.
You're an 8?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, good. Congratulations. You got Gabe Evans.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm in CD4. Here's what's wild. So Lauren Boebert looks at this and goes, yeah, I can vote for this deal. I don't like the debt ceiling being pushed off. We can deal with it during reconciliation. It's a parliamentary move, but we can get it done. Okay. Here's Greg Lopez representing the same people on the debt ceiling. Let's play Adam Lopez on the debt.
I got a question about that debt ceiling limit. I mean, if we just jump back in the Wayback Machine 12 months ago, the GOP was stomping their feet and talking about how you can't raise the debt limit and we can't do it, and this is fiscally irresponsible. And we've heard so many things during the election cycle about the deficit and the debt as far as spending. Why, at this moment, as we are heading into a Trump administration, someone that is supposed to be so concerned about the debt, is he asking and pushing for a debt limit increase? Why is he almost telegraphing to the American electorate that he is going to raise the deficit when he gets into office? Because if he wasn't going to raise the deficit, he wouldn't need the debt ceiling limit to go up. Why are we doing this now?
Well, that's an interesting question, right, Bill? It's like, you know what? Sometimes I wonder, here's a new boss, same as the old boss, and it's like both sides of the equations are the Democrats and the Republicans. Sometimes when they're in power, they're doing the same thing that they accuse the other one of not doing it correctly. So here's what I'll tell you. It's important for us to always recognize there are three branches of government: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. It is great that the president would like us to know what he would like and his opinion. But ultimately, the legislative branch is responsible for the purse of the people. We decide how much money should be spent. We decide whether the debt ceiling should be raised or not be raised. And while the president can give us his opinion, I would urge, and I'm urging my colleagues, that's exactly what it is. It's his opinion. We are the ones that are going to be voting on it.
That's Greg Lopez. So Lauren Boebert, Greg Lopez taking different sides of this. I have this poll up right now, and this is exploding. This is a big debate on X right now. Do you agree with Trump that Congress needs to push the debt ceiling to January of 2027? Right now, it's about 50-50. Over 100 votes on X.com. Would love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line, 720-819-5115. Do you agree with Trump and Boebert? Do you agree with Lopez, Thomas Massey, and Rand Paul? Where do you fall along this? Let's go back to the phone lines. Joe and Arvada. Joe, do you agree with Trump on this?
Well, I agree with the founders on this. What's happening is exactly what the founders foresaw. We're having a deadlock, and so the government's going to shut down until the power of the purse is installed. The reason why your guest host even has a chance is because in Colorado, we have the Tabor Amendment. Mm-hmm. We need a national Tabor Amendment. But here's the thing. For now, because it's such a dumpster fire nationally, President Trump is arguing that we have to extend it to $5 trillion because we got to deal with it. But here's the thing. Compromise is in order. I think they're going to bring people to the table if they go something like $3.5 trillion. Mm. And that's because it's going to bring the number down. So you're going to get some of those 38 Republicans and then put a plan out there to bring it to zero.
Yeah. And Joe, to your point, this is a debate that would not be happening if Kamala Harris had won. Democrats were in control. They just pressed through it. So Republicans operate government the way it should operate, with debate and discussion and back and forth. Because what my example on that, not a single Democrat in the Senate voted against any one of Joe Biden's cabinet picks. They all get in line. Whatever the guy at the top tells us to do. Republicans go back and forth, debate this on the merits, the founding principles of our country, what it means to be a conservative, all of that. So we'll have to watch. We may get a vote today. If not, the government shuts down at midnight. Joe, you wouldn't be too upset if the government shut down?
Oh, no. Furlough is the best thing right now, because what will happen is everybody knows that the reason why apples are $3 a pound is because this government has spent us into oblivion. That's exactly why the Tabor Amendment it was put in here in Colorado, and that's exactly why we need a national debt ceiling limit, and then we need negotiation down to zero.
Joe from Arvada, fantastic call. Really appreciate you joining the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. In just a minute, Ryan Gonzalez is going to join us. He's one of the newly elected Republicans that flipped a Democrat seat. We're going to ask him how he did it and what he looks forward to in this upcoming legislative session. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Ryan. 24 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 60 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
The Musk-Johnson proposal is not serious. It's laughable. Extreme MAGA Republicans are driving us to a government shutdown.
That's lefty Hakeem Jeffries. House Speaker Mike Johnson says a vote to avoid a government shutdown is expected to happen this morning. This comes after dozens of Republicans joined Democrats last night in voting down a revised government funding bill that included a 2-year suspension of the debt limit. Top Democrat Chuck Schumer indicated that his party would not be negotiating. No surprise. President Biden expected to announce more student loan relief today. The Department of Education says Biden and his regime plans to forgive another $4.2 billion in student loans for nearly 55,000 public service employees, including nurses, teachers, and firefighters. Last night, for whatever reason, Biden returned to the White House, and so did Kamala Khan. It was an unscheduled return, looked like an emergency. Biden did not look good. And Scott Jennings on CNN last night summing up the fraudulent regime.
This is the biggest scandal in America. The level and volume of people who dedicated themselves to lying to everyone at home about this man's condition for 4 straight years up through this summer is breathtaking. It's a scandal of epic proportions, and it's a fair question to ask: who is running the country? Who has been running the country? And as I said earlier, if you're worried about Donald Trump's advisors having influence, for the last 4 years, apparently this president, duly elected, but this president was not capable of fulfilling the duties of the office. And his staff and the White House lied about it and kept it from the American people. It's an absolute scandal.
What do you think, Jeff?
Oh, dude, I'm like itching to get in on this one. Okay.
Yes,
and Ryan's here too, because the Wall Street Journal, a big article this week on this. Within months of Joe Biden taking office, he was essentially incapacitated to the point where they were cutting down meetings. His staff knew that we had to manage him super closely. They lied at such a level to the American people that, to Scott Jennings' point, this should be a national scandal. It's amazing. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, it's scary and it's sad, and I think the unethical side, as we heard there, is a big thing to speak on. Just because who allows and who pushes somebody to run for re-election and to stay in office and stay in positions of power, especially our commander-in-chief,
right,
who we just constantly watch stumbling and bumbling around, clearly not sound in mind, and making very critical decisions in national and international security. It's very scary, and that's definitely something that we can't let happen again. We need to have some guardrails on that moving forward.
I mean, that Wall Street Journal article is wild because most presidents, this is supposed to be the leader of the free world, having big policy debates, calling the cabinet members and guiding and directing the most powerful nation in the world. And you get a sense from this in-depth article that he wasn't doing any of that. He wasn't, directing his cabinet officials. He wasn't having policy discussions. They essentially just wheeled him around, sat him through very short meetings, and then other people were in charge of our country. And they lied when Republicans brought it up. They shamed Republicans for doing it. The media joined with progressives in this. I mean, we need a great reset at this point on this type of crap.
And the mainstream media complicit.
Yes.
I mean, I remember in 2015, I remember watching him in the basement going, what? I mean, does anybody really believe this dude it can function as the president of the United States, the commander in chief? I mean, he's reading the teleprompter or the cue cards, or I don't know if you remember that, but I mean, it was ridiculous. I said 2015. I meant 2019, right? No, 2020. 2020 when he went to the basement.
Right.
Yeah, he went to the basement. I'm sorry. I said 2015.
No, he was bad back
in the
then.
basement. Yeah, he was bad back then also. But I mean, he was out of his mind in 2020.
But you had
what a joke.
Joe and Mika. What's Joe's last name?
Brzezinski.
That's Mika's last name. Yes.
No, that's his last name also.
Did he actually take her last name?
Scarborough.
Yeah. So Joe going, this is the smartest that Joe Biden's ever been. I've known Joe for 50 years. This guy's remarkable. He was saying that in 2021, 2022. It was the whole thing was a cover up. We essentially had a non-president for 4 years. It was covered up by mainstream media. You were shamed if you challenged it. I just can't believe that that voters are shrugging this off.
Yep. I think Ryan wanted to say something.
No, just being accused of ageism or whatever the case was with any of this where you're saying
deep fakes, right? That was the thing. We're making up videos of our slowing down the videos to make him look, and we still have them. The president of the United States right now is the same guy that can hardly string a sentence together. My God, I sure hope nothing happens. But I think you see that now the world is reacting to the fact that Donald Trump's the effective president of the United States.
Yeah. And then the left is trying to sabotage it because you see all these stories occurring overseas. The U.S. delegation has arrived in Syria to meet with the rebels who topped the Assad regime in Damascus. A spokesperson says their discussions are expected to focus on U.S. expectations of an inclusive Syrian government. Don't hold your breath on that. And information about U.S. journalist Austin Tice and other Americans who disappeared during the Assad regime. And that's a great example right there. I mean, honestly, we know he's bad, but we know what can happen, and we know the complications and the craziness that can occur there with a new government. I mean, it's just get out of it. One person is dead after a Russian missile attack on Ukraine's capital. So here's another issue. Ukrainian military officials say this morning the attack damaged buildings across Kiev, killing at least one person and wounding 7 others. Kiev's mayor said that the attack was in response to this week's Ukrainian strikes on a Russian chemical plant. So that's NATO, and we're getting involved in this. DJT can't get into office soon enough. The left trying to get us into World War III before January 21st. It feels like it with NATO at least. Deportations of illegal immigrants over the last year were at the highest level since 2014. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says more than 270,000 immigrants were deported to almost 200 countries last year. The largest numbers of illegals were sent to Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Yeah, that's probably because we let in 12 to 18, 20 million. Who knows? So deportations of illegal immigrants over the last year were the highest level since 2014. Broncos are not officially out of the playoffs yet, but the 34-27 loss to the Chargers last night doesn't help. The Chargers came to life in the second half to win it.
Herbert throws, caught, touchdown, Darius Davis. And the Chargers take the lead on a 19-yard touchdown pass.
The Broncos dropped to 9-6, and they need ties or losses from Miami, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis to clinch a playoff spot. 22 in Centennial, 21 in Westminster, 24 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue with Ryan in for Billy. TGIF, Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
No major travel concerns for Colorado and surrounding areas today, Saturday, Sunday, and probably Monday. By Monday, there may be some snow showers in the high country, but for the most part, very quiet, very mild December weather. Temperatures will be upper 50s to the middle 60s today, 50s and lower 60s for Saturday, Sunday, 50s Monday and Tuesday. Looking at more in the way of clouds Monday and Tuesday, there's a chance maybe of a few showers, cloudy and colder Christmas Day. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. And if you're wondering what happened to Bill, Bill's just out for the day. He's tended to some family requirements. He's a good husband and father doing that. So joining us is Ryan Armagost. He's the House Whip here in Colorado. That's the third ranking leadership position.
Yes.
In the House. That means he's elected by his peers, other Republicans, to whip up those votes, count them all, make sure that they know exactly where they're going to land on each piece of legislation. He also represents the great people of House District 64, just north of Denver. He's also brought by some of his friends. These are the three new Republicans that defeated Democrats and helped flip 3 seats. So it's not the mighty 19 down at the state capitol anymore. It's the mighty 22. And in doing so, House Democrats in Colorado no longer have a supermajority. So these folks are awesome. We talked with Rebecca Keltie a little bit earlier. Now, Ryan Gonzalez. Ryan represents the good people of House District 50. I believe that's near Greeley. Ryan, thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show.
Thank you so much. Good morning. How are you guys today?
Great to have you. Introduce yourself briefly in your district.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for the opportunity for speaking. Good to be with you guys. My name is Ryan Gonzalez. I'm the newly elected representative for House District 50. House District 50 composes of East Central Greeley, Garden City, and Evans. I've been involved for the last 7 years. I've been working since I was 15 years old, from retail, fast food, banking, manufacturing. So I have a wide range of experience in different industries, and I'm just very excited to get to work. I grew up in Colorado. This is our home. It has so much to offer, so much potential. I still have hope for Colorado, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Ryan Gonzalez. So, Ryan, who'd you defeat?
So I defeated an incumbent, so Mary Young, who happens to be the state treasurer's wife.
Oh, Democrats probably didn't like that. And tell us about the race. How did it finish up? How much did you win by?
So I won by 2.2%, which is 563 votes. It was a two-way race this time. 2 years ago, there was a third party in there. And it was a very tough campaign, very competitive. That's what got us over the finish line.
That's great to hear. Ryan Gonzalez, newly elected House District 50. So tell us, what were the key issues you heard from people that flipped in your direction? Why did you win? What were the issues that you heard?
So I heard quite a few, but the most common ones were affordability. So affordable housing, affordable energy, cost of living, crime, crime is very huge, especially on the east side of my district. So depending on where I was in the district, most themes were very similar. So affordability, the economy, crime, and some education. Those were the main bullet points that I heard across the district. So obviously making sure we stood strong on Tabor, making sure we stood strong on getting rid of fees, moving towards a free market approach is kind of what I would always say. Some of the solutions to these problems, working with our law enforcement, we just simply got to enforce our laws and giving parents a right in school choice. I think there's nothing wrong with school choice when we talk about it. As a taxpayer, you should have a say in where your tax dollars go. And the students, as future taxpayers, should be able to have that option too.
We got a text message here. Ryan Gonzalez outworked his opponent. So people recognizing the hard work you put into it. Now, Ryan Gonzalez, your skin is brown. I thought that you'd be a Democrat. How did you become a Republican being a Hispanic?
Well, I can tell you, you're not the only one who says that. In fact, some progressives have said that as well, that I'm in the wrong party. I was being used. I'm not a real Latino, a weed cracker, among other things. So this is coming from people who say they're tolerant. But for me, I identify more with the principles and values of the Republican Party. I've been working since I was 15 years old. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. I didn't get handouts. My mom worked very hard to raise 3 kids on her own. And I've seen that government hurts more than it helps, especially with a lot of these policies. And a lot of these people claim to help the very same people, but these policies that they implement hurt them. And, making sure we're all about fiscal responsibility, hard work, family, faith, freedom, limited government. Those values I identify more with the Republican Party than I do with the Democrat Party.
Ryan, I know I've watched closely with both of your runs for office, and you are a fighter, which is what got you to run again and succeed this time. Your critics have been very hard on you. And one of the things that your critics have been most critical about is your age. You are our youngest member coming into this. What do you see with that being an advantage, and how do you see that helping you in this upcoming session?
Well, I can say my youth is also my strength. And people are craving fresh ideas, fresh new faces, and they want something that's not the traditional status quo. I have a lot of energy. That's why I was able to go door to door. That's why I was able to outwork my opponent. Growing up in this community, especially many of the people I went to school with here, I know a lot of these people. A lot of them know of me. So just making those connections and really using my youth as a skill, as a strength, to not only have the energy and capacity to learn as I go, but also to build lasting relationships with people in the community, with people in the legislature. I think for me, I'm going to be a real go-getter from the beginning. But also, like I said, this is all new to me, being firstly elected to an office, and making sure I know the people, making sure we have dialogue, making sure we bring people together. That's what I see it. And so, it's age discrimination. I am very careful not to discriminate against my elders. I respect my elders. So there's also that saying that, some people are too old. I know plenty of sane 70, 80-year-olds who are not in politics who, are very efficient, are bright. And so for me, I tend to stay away from, the type of identity politics, I guess you could say, assumptions, things like that, but just making those connections. And I think this is going to be a valuable asset for me coming into this upcoming session.
Talking to Ryan Gonzalez, newly elected to House District 50. That's just up in Greeley. Flipped it. Mary Young, Democrat, out of there. This now helps take away the Democrat supermajority in the Colorado House of Representatives. Now, I'm looking at your website. By the way, you can go to Gonzalez450 if you want to learn more about Ryan Gonzalez, Gonzalez450.com. You write pro-liberty, pro-free market, pro-faith, pro-family. Now, I spent years doing ministry with the Hispanic community out in California. They were the most conservative people I met. I remember if I wanted to go get kids to be a part of my youth group, I went and talked to grandma, and I had to invite, and show that I was responsible and they cared deeply, deep family values. And Democrats always said, well, no, you're going to vote Democrat because of illegal immigration and you support illegal immigration. And Republicans have been going, no, they're law-abiding community. It supports family. They're pro-life. They attend church, all that stuff. It seems, Ryan Gonzalez, that Hispanics really are starting to turn towards Republican conservative values and supporting Republicans for office. What's your take on that?
Great question. So I can tell you, the Democrats have gone too far to the left, and so they are not messaging what needs to be messaged in order for them to win. A lot of these woke far left issues, they don't put food on the table. They don't help pay their energy bills. They don't help with their property taxes. They don't help with their mortgages. They don't help with these fees, right? That's what the Hispanic community wants. We're hurting just like any other person. And a lot of these people, when I've gone door to door, many of them residents, many of them got here the right way. They don't like what's going on at the border that's trickling down in our state, right? They said, I waited in line. I did my time. I did it the right way. I worked hard to get where I'm at now, to get my own home, to start my own family, to start my own business. And for people to cut in front of the line in the border and get all these handouts is simply not fair. So they don't like what's going on. But they also want to make sure that Republicans are good at messaging, because that's something that we have struggled with to appeal to the Hispanic community for years. And we've really dropped the ball on this. So, we have opportunity to continue down this, make sure the pendulum swings our way to grow our connections with the Hispanic community. It's going to take time, but we got to make sure our messaging is right. We got to make sure we communicate with them. We got to make sure we talk about our principles. We can disagree on policy, but if we stand on principle, that's something that can help us win more Hispanic voters to our side, because they're tired of it. They're tired of what's going on. They don't like what's happening. The economy's hurting. Everyone's hurting. And they want someone that gives the solutions, not only for the economy, but for our communities, for education, for immigration, for all these issues. And they feel that Republicans actually have sensible, reasonable solutions to these issues.
And Ryan, I've campaigned with you the last 2 terms now. You've definitely been involved in what's been going down at the Capitol this last 2 years. You've noticed the shift. What do you still see as challenges coming forward into this next 2 years?
What do you mean by that? Like specific challenges or just challenges in general?
Challenges for our party and challenges for Colorado and legislation.
So I think for us, obviously, we're the minority still. So, we're going to have to make sure we can pass what we get done. But I think some of the challenges that we face is the majority clearly does not like Tabor. And that's something that I campaigned very hard on. And the people in my district, the more they know about Tabor, the more they learn about Tabor, they love Tabor. And my message from them to the majority is simply this: hands off our tax refunds, leave Tabor alone. And so we have to make sure that we fight hard for Tabor. That's going to be a challenge. You've seen it time and time again. The Democrats have made it their #1 policy on the platform to repeal Tabor. And, keeping them from a supermajority in both chambers helps to make sure they don't put a ballot initiative to do so. But I think also affordability is going to be something huge. Too much regulation, environmental regulation, labor regulation, things like that drive up the cost of affordable housing. Those are some of the challenges we face particularly, but also simply helping our law enforcement. If we just enforce our laws, I think we'd be in a much better place instead of going woke and completely disregarding law and order. A lot of these people in my district, whether these Democrats believe it or not, want the rule of law to be enforced. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing prejudiced about that. But again, the majority feels that because they have a majority, they can silence us. They don't have to listen to us. They've tried to downplay their supermajority loss in the state house, and they're flexing their muscle a little bit. So we as Republicans, we have to make sure we stick together, we stay together, we stay on message. And we can't do any more of this infighting, the bickering, the name calling, because Democrats laugh at us when they see that. And if the Republicans are united, I truly believe we can go far, we can deliver, we can get stuff done, even being in the minority.
Ryan Gonzalez, newly elected to District 50 up near Greeley. Congratulations on your win. Mary Young looking for a new job now. That's one Democrat out of the state house. He was part of the 3 that helped flip the Democrat houses, no longer a Democrat supermajority in the Colorado House of Representatives. You can follow Ryan Gonzalez on X at Ryan Gonzalez CO. over x.com/Ryan Gonzalez, CO, one of the new up-and-coming Republican stars in the House of Representatives. Ryan, thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show.
Hey, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to your listeners. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you as well. Looking forward to his leadership down at the House. All right, coming up, we're going to talk with George Bauchler. Man, oh man, did he have a press conference calling out the criminals. It ain't going to happen anymore in his district. There's a new sheriff or district attorney, I guess, in town. We'll be talking about that and more. You're listening to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
This hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. A fiasco at the southern border as Joe Biden's plan to sneak border wall panels out of the state of Texas into Arizona and sell them off for pennies on the dollar was discovered, prompting Attorney General Ken Paxton to file a motion with the court forcing the Biden administration to stop the auction on the very day it was supposed to take place. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick saying that after they found out about the auction, the state decided to purchase the already paid for border wall panels and give them to President Trump to finish the wall once he takes office. However, when officials traveled to the auction site on December 18th, they were told by the auctioneer that the whole thing had been called off. This came 2 days after President Trump said during a news conference at Mar-a-Lago that Biden needed to stop what he was doing, adding that it may be criminal. A day before that, on the 17th, Paxton filed a motion with the court to intervene and prevent any sections of the wall from being sold illegally, asking the court to force Biden to adhere to a previous court ruling that said taxpayer funds that were approved to be used on the border wall construction cannot be illegally redirected. Paxton saying, quote, "I will do everything in my power to prevent any acts of sabotage by the outgoing administration." That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Awayo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
$50 gift cards from Rodizio Grill in Inglewood and downtown. Get them now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
education for your kids, start a business. You want to shop here, you want to be entertained here. We welcome you and we promise you that we will keep you safe while you're down here. If you come down here with the intent to victimize us or to steal from us, your expectation should be incarceration.
Woo! Law and order is back, baby. Now, Ryan Armagost is going to like this because he's a lawman. But George Bauchler is joining the Jeff and Bill Show, newly elected district attorney to Judicial District 23 on the creation of this new judicial district. Law and order is back. George Bauchler, thanks for being on the program.
Buddy, thanks for having me on, Ryan. It's good to hear your voice on the radio, man.
Likewise, my friend.
So you did a big press announcement. You had all law enforcement there. You were sending a message that you are in control of this new district, which includes Douglas, Lincoln, and Elbert counties. Tell us a little bit more about it.
You know, it was, it's something like you've never seen before. And I said that at the time. Like, when you see the group of individuals that we had behind us and what they represent, and I mean, we had all of our mayors, we had all of our sheriffs, all of our chiefs of police, and I'm talking about the sheriffs from Lincoln and Elbert County too. We had city council members, we had representatives from the FBI, DEA, ATF, ICE. The only time you ever see a group like that get together is typically after some horrible tragedy, some great negative thing. This was different. This was in front of a great opportunity. And it was amazing to me, one, the response. When I put out the message, hey, I'd like to do this thing, what do you think? And everybody was like, hell yeah. Yeah, we're coming out there and we're going to do this thing. The other interesting thing to me in retrospect, not at the time, was how this would have been a big, giant nothing burger 10 or 15 years ago. Right. You know what I mean? Like 15 years ago when we were growing up in Colorado, Jeff, I mean, and Ryan, did you grow up here? Remind me.
I did. LaSalle, Colorado.
Yeah. So when we were growing up here, this kind of a press conference, people would have never shown up. They'd have been like, well, duh, that's what you do, right? Like, I mean, this is the job. But because we have seen such dramatic changes coming from under the Gold Dome and in terms of district attorneys' offices in the metro area and policies that are put in place, all of a sudden, what's old is new again. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, this is refreshing. Accountability. You mean if people victimize us, they're going to maybe go to jail? That message should not resonate the way that this one did, but the response has been really positive and overwhelming.
I want listeners to hear Darren Weekly's message. Adam, let's play Darren Weekly's audio, his message from the same press conference.
If you are a criminal or you are somebody who has bad intentions, do not come to the 23rd Judicial District, because the people you see behind me, we will go out of our way to track you down and to hold you accountable. If you run from us, you will go to jail tired and with additional charges. We will do everything that we can to keep our community safe, and we will hold you accountable.
That's the sheriff of Douglas County, Darren Weekly, at the same press conference. So, George Bauchler, is the defund the police baloney over?
Oh, it's never been here in Douglas County or Elbert or Lincoln, as you know. I mean, if there's ever struggles for resources for Lincoln and Elbert, it's not a function of not supporting law enforcement. It's just a function of the tax base. You know, it's nothing else. But down here, we've never had a defund the police mentality, ever.
Now, do you think that in this state, Denver, with all the problems it's facing, Aurora, its gang problems, do you think that voters are going to notice a big difference in these types of counties? Are going to take law enforcement seriously versus Denver, for instance, cutting its budget. And in fact, in 2025, it has more money allocated to illegal immigration than it does to recruiting and training new police officers. Do you think this is going to make a difference in the way people live and experience this state?
You know, in part, that's the hope, right? Like in some ways, this is the great experiment. We have this giant Denver metro area with millions of people in it. And there is one portion of it down south, the buffer between El Paso County and Denver, that is going to draw a line in the sand right along our county borders and say, not here. And in fact, the approach that we're taking is twofold on this. One, look, if a year from now, 2 years from now, we've embraced this concept, and I think that we have, and we're not seeing any changes in retail theft, shoplifting, burglary, violent crime, then maybe you step back and say, okay, why didn't this work? What are the things that we need to do to be better? But I'm pretty sure it's going to work. I mean, I feel like this is the kind of thing where we're going to see two things happen. One, the people that do commit crimes down here are going to get a loud and clear message, and they're going to communicate those things to people outside the jurisdiction. I, in fact, put up a big board during this press conference of the new judicial district boundaries. And then I had the people at Douglas County gin up the exact same thing with a series of roads that people could take to drive around the jurisdiction coming from Denver. So I said, listen, if you're interested in avoiding our jurisdiction because you can't help yourself, you're bound to commit a crime and you don't want to get caught down here, here's the roads to get around us. I mean, I'm serious about this. So someone called me on another show and said, do you really think that's a responsible thing to encourage people to commit crimes somewhere else? And I'm like, let's be honest, man. I'm not encouraging anyone to commit crimes. I don't want anyone to commit crimes. But if you're inclined to do it, my job is to keep you from doing it here.
Yep.
Right? Like, my job isn't to care about Denver or Arapahoe or Jeffco. That's those district attorneys' jobs. And so if what I can do is put this message out here and then back it up with action, and it keeps our community safer. And Jeff, you're part of that community.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So my thing is hearing both of you and the sheriff speaking on that. And so, purposed and everything behind what you're saying, you're doing. I mean, you're saying what you're doing and you're doing what you're saying. So it's everything that I've seen from Sheriff Weekly and you down at the Capitol. You've been involved in what's going on under the dome. You've been involved publicly, very, very publicly and vocally on the crime and public safety issues in Colorado. With this and with the performance and results coming from it, do you think this is something that can spread like wildfire throughout Colorado, especially in these municipalities around Metro Denver?
Wildfire, maybe over time. Yeah, I do think it's going to spread. And Ryan, you are in one of the toughest positions in government anywhere in America, right? Like, you are one of the Spartans dropped in the hot gates right in the middle of the battle. And you're asked to try to figure out a way to give tools to sheriffs and DAs in an environment where all the people around you want to take the tools away. Mm-hmm. And so that's an impressive thing. But I think the other thing that we're going to see here is that when this thing starts to gain steam and momentum and we get some good results here, you're going to start to feel the impact of Advanced Colorado and other groups too. They're going to show up to the legislature. They're going to get folks like you to back common sense, reasonable approaches to criminal justice. And the legislature is going to have to sit back and think, you know what, if we don't come up with some way to address this, maybe even a compromise, they're just going to put it on the ballot and force us to take it. I think that's the kind of momentum we're going to get.
Talking to George Bauchler, newly elected DA in the 23rd Judicial District that represents Douglas, Elbert, and Lincoln counties. Great press conference, sending a very strong message to the bad guys out there, not on our turf. If you want to follow George Bauchler, go to x.com/George Bauchler. He does a lot of great work there as well. George, thanks so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show.
Jeff and Ryan, thanks for having me on. It was great talking to you guys.
Thank you. We'll continue. You're listening to Jeff and Ryan on News Talk 710 KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
$50 gift cards from Rebecca Grill in Inglewood and downtown. Get them now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
always think of the movie Home Alone when I hear this song. You're listening to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. Bill's around. Don't worry, he'll be back on Monday. But Ryan Armagost, Representative Ryan Armagost from House District 64 is also the House Republican whip, is joining us. He's bringing friends too. Next hour, we're going to talk with Dan Woog. But let's go to the phone lines. Jay Castle Rock, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Ryan show.
Good morning. What a wonderful interview with George Bauchler.
Isn't that fun? It's good. Nice guy to have back. And we did better than Laura Ingraham, apparently. I can't find that, but apparently she wasn't very fair to George. But yeah, what's on your mind, Jay?
Like a IV of justice. Sorry, I gotta laugh.
I love it.
Because let me just say one thing I know about that man. He convicted some of the nastiest individuals. Aurora Theater. I don't even want to mention. I can't even go through it. It makes me cry.
Yeah,
but a good man. Unbelievable.
That's right. Defended the Castillo family against those folks that had and prosecuted the guy who killed Kendra Castillo. So, yeah, no, right. Jay, you're exactly right, and it's so refreshing. And I think people are going to want to move to these counties. They just got to keep them red. You know, the biggest challenge we have is like with Douglas County, for instance. A lot of people moved into it, and now they've got Democrats are electing to the House, which is great. Jay, stick around. I want to continue the conversation. We're going to talk the budget. What's happening in the latest on this debt ceiling, continuing resolution, craziness that's happening in Washington, D.C. Federal workers told to prepare for furlough ahead of a possible shutdown. Fox is reporting. J.D. Vance just showed up as well on Capitol Hill. They're going to see if they can get a deal done. We'll give you all the latest. You're listening to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, December 20th. Good morning, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. Wait, what? Yeah, Bill will be back on Mondays, tending to the family today. But joining us live in studio, my co-host today in a takeover is Ryan Armagost from House District 64. He also serves as the whip here in Colorado. So he whips up all those votes, counts them, makes sure there's no surprises. So he's part of the Republican leadership team. We're having an absolutely fantastic show coming up here in just a moment. It's going to be one of his friends and colleagues down at the state capitol, Dan Woog, representative-elect to House District 19. So this is one of the districts that flipped. We're bringing on the 3 Republicans that flipped Democrat House seats, took away the supermajority that Democrats had down at the Colorado State Capitol. How did they win? What was the race like? What are they going to do different? Has Colorado hit rock bottom and now we're finally crawling out with common sense legislative leadership? That's all part of the conversation today. We're also talking the debt ceiling debate happening in Washington, D.C. J.D. Vance just showing up at the Capitol trying to get the deal done. Trump weighing in on the looming shutdown, saying it's now Biden's problem to solve. A little bit of background of what happened yesterday, okay? So Mike Johnson negotiates a deal. This is the Speaker of the House, not the Mayor of Denver. That's Mike Johnston. Mike Johnson is the Speaker of the House. He negotiates this deal with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. Comes out, Republicans look at it earlier this week, and it's a 1,500-page pork monstrosity that includes a pay raise for members of Congress. Well, Republicans, including Elon Musk and Vivek and Donald Trump, are like, heck no, this is terrible. We don't want this thing to pass. So they come back with a slimmed down version, about 150 pages. But part of the problem in that bill is that right now we don't have a debt ceiling, which just means that government can continue to get us into further and further debt. Well, the debt ceiling is supposed to come back in January. This puts some restrictions on the federal government. And Donald Trump doesn't want the debt ceiling. His argument is that we need to have some flexibility here. If we cut taxes, at least initially, the government's going to have less revenue. That's going to increase the deficit. So we need to have some flexibility here to get through that period. Once the economy improves, more revenue is going to come into the government, and we'll actually reduce the deficit. Fiscally conservative House Republicans like Greg Lopez, Chip Roy, Thomas Massey, even Rand Paul over in the Senate saying, no, we need to reinstate the debt ceiling, put it back in. Let's get the adults in here, start cutting the deficit. That's where the debate is. 38 Republicans not going along with Donald Trump. And as a result, the second introduced continuing resolution did not pass. So today, they're trying to figure it out in Washington, D.C. If by midnight tonight they don't have a deal, the government shuts down. So federal workers are being prepared, are told to prepare for furlough right now. We're tracking it all. Lots of conversation happening. You got to stick with us. Let's go back to the phone lines. Jay, Castle Rock, what do you think of this debt deal? Would you have voted along with Donald Trump or the more fiscal conservatives in the House? Where would you land, Jay?
Well, I would vote with Trump because he owns businesses and he knows he's a check writer, not a check casher.
Mm-hmm.
So he is used to that. Secondly, what you guys said earlier, I think is very important. Let's just take the FBI, for instance. I would clear the building. I would put everyone out in their jobs, see what they've been doing forever, and put a padlock on the door.
that's the tough thing with the whip. And I met the U.S. House Republican whip, Tom Emmer, and I don't envy him and his job in having to try and balance that out and count votes on things like this, because A, the numbers, but B, just so many different constituencies and different opinions on things. I think it's one of those things where there's going to have to be negotiation. That's what the debate's about. Behind all the theatrics, especially on the Democrat side, the mortified, we're just so horrified by the fact of shutting down government. If it's a reality, it's a reality. If it's what ends up coming from this, if we can't reach a compromise and debate, then that's what the outcome just comes out to be.
Yeah. Thomas Massey yesterday tweeting this isn't complicated. Separate the bills and vote on them individually. One vote on the clean, continuous resolution, one vote on the debt limit, one vote on disaster relief, one vote on farm bailouts. Just break it up.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think breaking it up, but also finding a reasonable number going to all the different entities that we're plugging money into in this, the budget request and proposed ideas that are coming out in this, because some of these numbers are just outlandish, and that's where you end up with this 1,500 plus page bill. But I think bringing it down, shaving off what we can where we can, especially in unreasonable asks, is where we can get that compromise and hopefully get something good out of this.
Now, Lauren Boebert brought this up yesterday on our show, that this type of continuing resolution of Nancy Pelosi's budget bill, that's what people don't understand here. Mm-hmm. We haven't passed a budget or at least an omnibus spending package since Nancy Pelosi was on.
Yeah.
Under McCarthy, it didn't happen. Under Mike Johnson, it didn't happen. So we are still funding the government according to Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats' spending priorities.
Yeah.
And yesterday, Lauren Boebert goes, well, McCarthy was vacated because of this problem. Do you think Mike Johnson survives this?
I think he does.
You think so? Why is that?
I think it's, like I said, it's going to be a matter of getting those debates. I think he's going to be willing to listen to whatever needs to come to that fruition of this budget request. And it is huge. It's a huge ask. But like we talked about, and even like Jay said, we are going through another year of budget. We are going through a change of administration, a change of power. We do have the majority now, so there's going to be the extraordinary asks. And I think those are just going to have to be, well, we don't agree with that, but we also don't agree with the far polar opposite. So we have to meet somewhere in the middle. And I think he's willing to do that, and I think he's able to do that.
All right. So Ryan Armagost landing on a deal coming today, no government shutdown, and Mike Johnson keeping his job. I do think that they get a deal done today to avert a government shutdown. I don't know if Mike Johnson survives this. Let me know if you'd like to join the conversation. Phone line 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law Text line at 720-819-5115. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Blake, do you think the government's shutting down tonight at midnight?
You know what? I'm going back and forth on this. So I don't think so now. I changed my mind in the last 60 minutes. I think, you guys convinced me. The negotiating and kind of the art of the deal. And, I guess that's what government's all about. So I'm going to give Trump the benefit of the doubt here. And I think Jay brought it up, and I think something will happen.
Now, Trump just posted on Truth Social calling the debt ceiling ridiculous. Now he wants it extended out to 2029.
Wow. Okay. I just, it's such a mess. Like you said, Jeff, you hit it on the head. I mean, you'd rather, thank goodness.
We're even debating
thank
this.
God. Yeah, we're even debating this, right? And we're actually talking about it because otherwise we wouldn't see this had it been Kamala on
Blake,
you there, Jeff?
Ah, we got you. Woohoo.
Oh, really?
All right.
That was weird.
Got you back.
That was weird. You guys need to take a break. I'm sorry. I don't know who knows with the internet. But yeah, I mean, you've almost convinced me, and I'll do the news here, and then hopefully I'll be able to stay on here long enough, and then you guys can continue the conversation. How about that?
Yeah, go for it, brother.
26, partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 60 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I invested more in red states than in blue states. All these programs we just talked about. The reason for that was the red states didn't operate very well, and they really hurt their constituents.
Any other regrets that you have? Anything you wish you would have done differently?
Well, I guess if I thought a lot about it, it'd be something I would have specifically done. But
oh my goodness, corrupt Joe making no sense again. What's going on in D.C.? Kamala Khan canceling her trip to L.A. She was supposed to land in Los Angeles last night and spend time at home making pancakes in Brentwood, but decided to stay in D.C. instead. The change of plans comes as Biden also canceled his holiday in Delaware to remain in the White House.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has anything to do with the shutdown. Who knows? Could be all the other chaos going on around the world. Keep an eye on that.
What is Kamala going to do for the shutdown? Maybe I guess she could be the 51st vote if it needed to get through the Senate.
Yeah, possibly.
Who's taking
what are
calls
they
from
doing? Right. So these two are meeting at the White House getting drunk or what? What are they doing? So
if Saturday Night Live had any guts, that would be the opening monologue on Saturday. It would be a Joe Biden wandering around in a drunk Kamala Harris, and that would be the leadership of our country at this point. Meanwhile, Trump's trying to get a deal. The dude's still done in Congress. So,
oh man, that would be great. Don't hold your breath on that one. House Speaker Mike Johnson expected to vote on a funding bill to prevent the government shutdown, as we mentioned. The House rejected the bill last night. It saw almost 40 Republicans align with Democrats to vote against the proposal supported by President-elect Trump. Without legislation, the government will shut down. Tonight, here is J.D. Vance last night.
Mr. Vance, will you accept any deal that does not include a debt limit increase?
Look, I'll say one thing. The Democrats just voted to shut down the government, even though we had a clean CR, because they didn't want to give the president negotiating leverage during his first term, or during the first year of his new term. And number two, because they would rather shut down the government and fight for global censorship bullshit. They've asked for a shutdown, and I think that's exactly what they're going to get.
Republicans vote against it as well.
All right, now locally, some bright news. Thanks to Ryan for this. Sounds like an up-and-coming star in Colorado. Ryan Gonzalez on the show last hour, newly elected in House District 50, Northern Colorado. Wait a minute. You're not white?
Well, I can tell you, you're not the only one who says that. In fact, some progressives have said that as well, that I'm in the wrong party. I was being used. I'm not a real Latino, a weed cracker, among other things. So this is coming from people who say they're tolerant. But for me, I identify more with the principles and values of the Republican Party. I've been working since I was 15 years old. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. I didn't get handouts. My mom worked very hard to raise 3 kids on her own. And I've seen that government hurts more than it helps, especially with a lot of these policies.
Old white guys, good old white guys, young white guys.
I had to put Willie Brown in there.
Wheat cracker is a term I've never heard before.
Oh, cracker I've heard a billion times, but I love how he put wheat cracker in there. I was cracking up.
Is that like a hint to like the Hispanics that work in the farm, or does it have to do with wheat bread being more brown? What is the term there?
Yeah, I don't know. The wheat cracker. Yeah, I'm sure because it's browner than white bread. So That was hilarious, man. Pulling that one out. I was like, whoa, wheat cracker. I love it. So man, I love great guest, and nice job, Ryan. And he sounds like a star. He really does.
Yeah, ambitious for sure.
No, that's great. The Georgia District Attorney who looked to prosecute DJT over alleged election interference efforts is being removed from the case. State Appellate Court issued the ruling on Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis on Thursday. Earlier this year. Oh, my goodness. I got to ask you about this real quick, Jeff. Trump's lawyers asked Willis to be disqualified from the case over her relationship with special prosecutor Nathan Wade. Did you see on social media last night the Wade thing where the cloud comes over his left shoulder? Oh man, I've got to find this. Where they're questioning him over the summer, asking, "Did you spend any time with Fonnie Willis at the whatever?" And he pauses for about 20 seconds, and I'm going to tease you right now. I'll play you what that cloud had, and I'll try to play it in the next hour. It was hilarious. If I don't get it on, I'll definitely send it to you.
Please, we'll put it on X. But
so good.
Bill and I were debating this yesterday, right? Like, my argument is we have the largest jury verdict in world history with regards to Donald Trump. Every American voter got a chance to weigh in. Either he's guilty, he's a convict, send him to the dustbin of history, or all of this is sham prosecution. He's got the right. I mean, we literally went from a guy that could have been in prison to the guy now being the president of the United States. That was, and the American people, not just the Electoral College, the American people in a majority opinion said not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, and in fact put him into leadership. Yes. And Democrats in Georgia and New York are still like, but we want to continue our cases.
Right. It's amazing. It is amazing. This year has been incredible. Yeah. I mean, if you just woke up from a coma, you're going, what the hell just happened?
The guy there's a mugshot of him, and now he's about to be sworn in as the president of the United States.
Awesome.
Like, we're swinging. There's such extremes here. But the idea that the American people want these cases to continue, and Fonnie Willis was such a disaster.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
The Soros funded prosecutors has just run its course. Nobody wants these people in leadership. LA kicked them out. I think San Francisco kicked them out. Now Fonnie Willis and George, she's done. They were just they were disasters.
But I cannot wait for Liz Cheney. That's going to be a national holiday for me. I want her. I want her behind bars. All right, the Chargers rallied to beat the Broncos 34-27 last night in the AFC West clash.
Herbert throws, caught, touchdown, Darius Davis. And the Chargers take the lead on a 19-yard touchdown pass.
Broncos not officially out of the playoffs yet, but the loss does not help. The Chargers came to life in the second half. Broncos dropped to 9-6, and they need ties or losses from Miami, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis to clinch. There was a cool moment in the game. The Chargers with a fair catch kick. We haven't seen that since 1976. Kicked for the 57-yard 3 points on a free kick. So that was pretty cool. If you're a Charger fan. 23 in Englewood, 24 in Thornton, 26 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue with Ryan in for Billy, TGIF, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
No major travel concerns for Colorado and surrounding areas today, Saturday, Sunday, and probably Monday. By Monday, there may be some snow showers in the high country, but for the most part, very quiet, very mild December weather. Temperatures will be upper 50s to the middle 60s today, 50s and lower 60s for Saturday, Sunday, 50s Monday and Tuesday. Looking at more in the way of clouds Monday and Tuesday, there's a chance maybe of a few showers, cloudy and colder Christmas Day. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. Billy will be back on Monday, tending to some family requirements today. So don't worry, we can debate Billy all we want on Monday of next week. But Ryan Armagost joins us live in studio. He represents House District 64. He's number 3 ranking Republican down at the State House. His job down there is whip, so he tracks all the votes. No surprise. We know where everybody stands on committee votes on the floor as well. So part of the great Republican leadership team. Now, last year they were known as the Mighty 19. These were the few remaining Republicans left in the House of Representatives, where Democrats had a supermajority, and they had some total nutcases down there. Elizabeth Epps, Tim Hernandez, shouting down Jewish lawmakers from the gallery with Palestinian protests. It was just absolutely chaotic. But part of this November election, 3 Republicans flipped seats, defeated Democrats, and now it's the mighty 22 down there. We've been talking to these 3 today: Rebecca Keltie in the 6 o'clock hour, Ryan Gonzalez in the 7 o'clock hour, and now Dan Woog in the 8 o'clock hour. So, ladies, you gotta join us on X, Rumble, YouTube, because if there ever was a Ken doll that became an elected official, it was Dan Woog. Dan, thanks for joining the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I haven't been introduced like that before. Good to be here.
Well, we're gonna have fun. I had fun with Chad Wolf one time. I was hosting Chad Wolf at the Western Conservative Summit. If you remember Chad, he was on Trump's cabinet in the first term, and I just asked him, what is it like to be the best looking cabinet official? And it just tripped him up. He couldn't even answer questions after that. So we do it because we like to have fun. Well, Dan, congratulations, you're back in. Give folks a little bit of an introduction. You were in office, you were out of office, and you're back in office, but is it a different district? And your background, give us a little update.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I did represent a few years back, and that was in House District 63. And of course, every 10 years they changed the boundaries of our district. So that was all Weld County. And then I ran this last time, the previous to this election, I ran in House District 19. And that's a little bit of Longmont, Firestone, Frederick, Dacono, and Erie. And that has Weld County and Boulder County. And it's almost down the middle as far as Republican, Democrat. I don't know which way it leans at this point. It was a very close race, but I lost that election this last time to Representative Prenti, and she decided not to run again. It was at the last minute. So they put another candidate entered that race as a Democrat, and I ran against her, Jalaire McMillan, and I squeezed. The win was very, very close. 110 votes. There was a recount. It took quite a while to get the final vote tally, but I'm proud to serve this district. And I can't say enough about all the help I got and the people that were willing to walk and make calls and help out this time for previous races. It was absolutely incredible.
Talking with Dan Woog, newly elected representative to House District 19. So, Dan, what was the difference this year between this cycle and last cycle?
Yeah, I think there were a number of things. One, I just mentioned that the enthusiasm and the help. I noticed so many constituents had really, at this point, had enough. The last time I ran, we, as Republicans, we believed we had a good message, and it was very similar. The cost of living is going up in Colorado, the crime is going up. We felt that was a winning message, and we still lost some key seats here in Colorado, as you know, that we, not overconfident, we believed we were going to win. We believed the people of Colorado had enough as well, the feelings we were feeling, and it just didn't happen. But this time, this election, I think that message resonated more than ever. I mean, people truly could just see the nonsense going on, the amount of like I said, crime in Colorado, the cost of living has skyrocketed. So I think the message, and then just the people had finally, truly, I noticed more than anything, had enough. And I had people calling me that I didn't know who they were and saying, hey, we're praying for you, we're supporting you. that happened over and over again, whether I was at the grocery store, at the gym, phone calls. So the whole feeling and vibe of this race is totally different. I think we saw that at the federal level too. Yeah, just really excited and proud to get in there and represent all these people.
So, Dan, when I knew you, or at least met you when you were in office last time, and then we had 24 seats then, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so with that, then seeing what you definitely saw what was happening with 19 in there when we lost those 5 seats, and then now getting back to 22. Where do you see us being at this next session?
Yeah, and I've talked to you, and I've talked to other people that I served with in the legislature last time, and served this last session with you, and without with being in the super minority, or the Debs having the super majority. So I think it's going to be similar. I think here's how I feel more than anything. Our party can feel a little momentum right now, and can feel good that our message resonated. So obviously, it should be a little better than what you went through this last session. I mean, you guys were limited on your speech, which is completely unconstitutional. That has to change no matter what. But just things that you faced, obviously, we're going to be in a better position. We'll be a little bit better on the committees. As we gain seats in the Republican Party, our committee numbers go up, and as a lot of viewers and listeners realize that committee is that's the first stage of where these laws go, and we get to either kill them at that committee or move them on. So those committee numbers are really important to have more balance in. So that we're slowly gaining on those committee numbers. But I think more than anything, just to feel that, our message did resonate. The people definitely spoke in Weld County. We won some key seats, and obviously you had Representative-elect Rebecca Keltie on, I believe, earlier. We won her seat. So I really believe that momentum helps us feel good about our message and to keep working together and moving forward.
Talking to Dan Woog, newly elected state representative from House District 19. It's one of the seats that was flipped. So Ryan Armagost live in studio here. He's filling in for Bill Thorpe. Tell folks what happened on the speech issue. Dan brought it up. What happened to Republicans on the floor down in the House of Representatives this last cycle?
So I think what people don't understand is when we are in a super minority, we are outnumbered 2-1. So that 2/3 vote gives the Democrats the power to vote on a daily basis. They can change the rules on the fly. So they can vote to say, today, you can't say these certain words. It's like they were the FCC of the legislature on any given day.
But they weren't the bad curse words.
No,
they were just like whatever words they felt.
Yeah.
Right?
So if there was on any day, okay, today we know we're talking about a bill on illegal immigration. So you're not allowed to say illegal immigrant. You're not allowed to say, and they had a full page of terms that we couldn't say. And that can go on anything where, even when there's not the spoken curse words that we're not allowed to say, there would just be something that somebody would take. If they heard an audible gasp in the room, they would gavel somebody for saying something offensive. And the Democrats in the House, on the House floor, it's notorious. You can hear something that offends somebody, and you just hear this audible gasp, and it just makes you chuckle, because it's like, really, that offends you? But it's just anything that's reality, or anything that offends their base and what they're trying to get across.
What happened to 1960s Berkeley free speech Democrats?
Yeah, it's completely flip-flopped. You look at the fight the power and everything else that the Democrats were, and free speech, this and that, to flipping that. Now the Republicans are the ones saying, well, no, we need our free speech back.
Did you guys sue?
No, we have explored every option that we can, but no, it's something that we're still trying to build on, because it's not going to stop.
You guys know I had a free speech victory down there.
Yeah, you did. That was amazing.
I was wearing a sweatshirt that said Pro-Life U, Colorado Christian University, and I just walked into the Senate gallery to watch proceedings, just wearing it. And I didn't even sit down, and they escorted me out.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I filmed the whole thing. I just turned on my phone.
Yeah.
And they showed, the rules there that you can't wear political apparel when it's relevant to whatever's being debated on the floor. I don't know if the House has those same rules, but the Senate did. And what Fire came to my rescue in this great free speech organization, they did a bunch of research, put together a letter to the folks down there at the state capitol, just saying, define political apparel.
Yeah.
Like, if I wear a rainbow flag, sweatshirt. Is that political? How about support the troops
Yeah.
or an American flag?
yeah.
So you can't even define it. It's just totally up to whoever. And they changed the rule, and apparently you can wear political apparel now. The other thing too that Fire found was it took like 5 seconds on Google to find lots of people wearing political apparel down in the gallery. Gun control. So it seems like it was selectively enforced as well. So you had to deal with that. Oh wow. So now are we going to see the lists this upcoming legislative session? Can Democrats do that now that they don't have a 2/3 majority?
If they are able to get a 2/3 vote to vote on anything on the House floor, they can still get it. Are they likely to get a 2/3 vote? No, because they still have a couple Democrats in there that are still one of those. They have those moderate values of free speech that they're willing to honor.
Who's the most moderate Democrat in the House, you think?
It's tough to say because you pick one and then they come out with some bill or something that's like, holy cow, you just completely went off the map there with that. So it's really tough to say. There's so many good ones. I think the best one that we have to work with on any level is Shannon Byrd, and she's so outcast by her own party for that because she's a moderate, reasonable Democrat. But yeah, it's tough to see so many that you're just like, oh yeah, you're great here, and then anti-gun bill or something just off the charts where you're like, oh okay, you lost me. So
how's Woody Woodrow doing down there?
Oh, I've heard some myths about what he's bringing back. So he's coming back with some wild, outlandish stuff. He's
wild and outlandish.
He is that.
Yeah,
so
I can't believe people continue to put that guy into office. But we're talking also with
I'm a small business owner. I have felt the effects of laws that come out of the Capitol that hurt my business and make me raise my costs, and then of course my customers are paying the penalty. So that's across the board. That's
but Dan, I gotta stop you here. Jared Polis pulled out a table saw and went after regulations. Don't we have a great libertarian governor, Dan Woog?
I don't think he did quite enough there. I really don't. Like I said, the chamber was very adamant that we're in big trouble, and if we want to support business, we got to make changes there. So that's a big thing to me. I mean, if there's anything to cut, and we all know there is certain regulation that is important. I mean, we need to maintain a healthy atmosphere around us and safety, but there's just so much that has hurt. And again, even small businesses, like I had those laws crunch, and again, the customers feel that. So focusing on cost of living, repealing some fees, hopefully, and then of course, law enforcement is very big to me. I think, and I think that goes hand in hand. We could have, I believe, one of the greatest economies in the country, and there's so many things to change. Regulations, one of them, less taxes, and then we need a safe place again. I mean, Rep. Armagost has spoken about this a lot. There's just, the crime is unacceptable. We have to go after that crime and make sure we have a safe place again. People feel safe, especially in downtown Denver, going out to eat again. People feel safe opening their doors, and there's not, I mean, let's face it. I've walked down there. I worked out there. There's a lot of drug use. There's a lot of crime. There's things that make people uncomfortable, and it should. And we have to have laws that support our police and support public safety. Absolutely, bar none.
Talking with Daniel Woog. He's one of the elected officials that has now flipped a district from Democrat to Republican, elected in House District 19, which includes Firestone. You can follow Daniel Woog at x.com/Daniel P. Woog, DANIELPWOOG. Do not go look him up. He makes Ryan and I not as handsome. But no, Dan, thank you so much for joining the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. We sure appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. You guys have a great weekend and a Merry Christmas.
You too, brother. Thank you so much. Another great up-and-coming star to be watching, Dan Woog. We'll continue with the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Luigi Mangione, the man being charged in the assassination-style murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is now facing this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Luigi Mangione, the man being charged in the assassination-style murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is now facing federal charges, including murder. The 26-year-old is now in New York after waiving extradition in a Thursday hearing in Pennsylvania. He was immediately flown to the Big Apple, where he's being charged with multiple felonies on a state level, including first- and second-degree murder. According to an unsealed criminal complaint, the Ivy League grad's federal charges include murder, stalking, and weapons offenses. One of the federal charges, murder by firearm, could bring the possibility of the death penalty. A Texas judge has refused to throw out criminal charges accusing the former Uvalde Schools police chief of endangering children in the slow law enforcement response to the 2022 Robb Elementary shooting. The ruling comes 6 months after an indictment accused P. Arredondo of ignoring his active shooter response training and delaying the police response as nearly 400 officers waited more than an hour to confront and kill the gunman. Arredondo has pleaded not guilty, saying he was improperly charged and that the shooter was responsible for putting the victims in danger. Investigators in Baltimore County are looking into whether a shooting and car crash that left 1 person dead and 9 injured Tuesday night are connected to a nearby homicide earlier this month. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Awayo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
$50 gift cards from Rodizio Grill in Inglewood and downtown. Get them now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
This reminds me of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, I think was this song, right? Welcome back to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. Billy is out today, visiting family, taking care of some responsibilities there. He'll be back on Monday. We'll be right back at it as well. But joining me live in studio is Ryan Armagost. He represents the good people of House District 64, that's north of Denver. Places like Johnstown, where the Buc-ee's is. And have you gotten the pulled pork sandwiches, brisket that they have there too?
Yeah, or something. It's like $8.
Luckiest lawmaker in Colorado, Buc-ee's, is in his jurisdiction until they open him up one down in Colorado Springs, I think. But he's joining us. We've been talking to Rebecca Keltie, Ryan Gonzalez, and Dan Woog. These are the three Republicans that flipped the seats the Democrats held that kept them in a supermajority. So they are no longer in a supermajority. We asked them what they learned out there on the trail, how things are changing. It does feel like Colorado's hit rock bottom and is maybe crawling back up, getting rid of some of the craziest lawmakers, but still have a long way to go. So we're going to continue this conversation. Phone lines are open if you'd like to join us, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. You're listening to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
$50 gift cards from Rodizio Grill in Inglewood and downtown. Get them now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show. Billy is out today, tended to some family requirements. And so Ryan Armagost, House Whip, it's the third-ranking Republican in the Colorado House of Representatives, joining us live in studio. Let's go to the phone lines. Ron Inglewood, good morning, Ron. You're on the Jeff and Ryan show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to ask about a comment that I hear all the time, and that's the super minority. And can you please explain how we're not the super minority and what that does for making things better for Republicans? And then the second part is the 20 to 25 legislators that have been appointed when people drop out. How does that affect working? What different? How much better would it be if those 25 weren't appointed and they had to earn their seat?
Yeah, great questions. I appreciate it, Ron. I'll turn it over to Ryan Armagost.
Yeah, so on the super minority side, it's a matter of numbers. So we have 65 members in the House. So we need at least 22 to have that, to be over a third. If we're at 21, we'd be under a third of that 65. So 22 puts us at 3 times that is 66. So that puts us over that third mark. And if the majority has over 2/3 ability to get a 2/3 vote on anything, that's the super majority. That's where they were at, where they easily had that majority vote on any given day. So that's what the super minority is.
And that affects your rules. It affects even the ability to override a veto of Jared Polis's, right?
Yep. And there's so many things that they have to have a 2/3 vote on to be able to approve or deny. And they had that at any moment. Now we can at least challenge that with that extra seat that we've been able to obtain in our 3 seats that we flipped.
So bottom line, it's Democrat owned, progressive, just not as crazy progressive.
Correct. Yeah.
Does that mean that it's easier to get things into committee and have representation when a bill goes to committee that normally they wouldn't even look at it?
It helps us a little bit. So what that's done, flipping these 3 seats and giving us 3 additional seats that we went from 19 to 22, that gives us about 1 extra person in a lot of the committees that we really needed something. Like I'm in Judiciary and Business and Labor. We really needed an extra member. That puts us at 7 to 4 in Judiciary, which is a much better place than where we were in 8 to 3. So it's something where you have 2 or 3 votes that you need to flip to be able to get something through or get something killed. So
what about these appointed people? I heard that they can't run again.
They're trying to push legislation on that, but there's nothing yet. Now, currently, a vacancy committee can appoint somebody in a vacancy, which we have more of them now coming up this next session on the Democrat side. So they will appoint a vacancy person that's voted in by vacancy, and they will be appointed. And then at the next election, they can run for election.
And these are people that got elected, but then, hey, a nice job showed up. I'm going to head that direction. Mm-hmm. And so a small committee of people gets to appoint who now fits that seat. And that's how you got Tim Hernandez and Elizabeth Epps, right?
And that's how we could get them back, too. That's the sad thing. Elizabeth Epps could make it back in a vacancy committee. So we can.
So they just do what they're told to do.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to really thank you for giving your time and your dedication to the state and my family and my grandchildren. I really mean that. And then, Jeff, before you hang up, I wanted to ask you one more question about dogs.
Yeah, go ahead.
My daughter needs a border kind of sheep dog where she lives.
Mm-hmm.
What's the breed that you have?
We raise Colorado mountain dogs. These are guardian livestock dogs. They live outside. They got thick fur coats, and they're very family friendly. But when it comes to time to kill a coyote, that's their job. So they protect sheep, goats, chickens, that type of thing. But guardian livestock dogs called Colorado mountain dogs. Yeah, give them a check out.
That's specific to what you're breeding, but not to that same type of dog around the country.
It is unique to Colorado. It's only a breed that's about 20 years old. So, yeah, we have a little Facebook page. If you go to Hunt Family Ranch on Facebook, you can check that out there. Ron, really appreciate the call. We're just out of time today. We'll continue with Ryan Armagost, and you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. All right, thanks. I wasn't sure what
Senator Basin's listening. He just reminded me it also takes 2/3 to refer a measure to ballot.
Ryan Armagost, elected by the good people of House District 64 to represent them. He also serves as the third-ranking Republican down at the state house, which he has the title of whip. So he chases down all the votes and makes sure that they, as leaders, know how their caucus is going to vote, something Mike Johnson apparently didn't do on this latest bill. By the way, the latest breaking news on this continuing resolution in Washington, D.C. is that top Senate Democrats are refusing to move on anything other than what was originally agreed on, the 1,500-page bill. It was a total monstrosity that Elon Musk and Vivek and all the rest of them all spoken to and said absolutely not. So Democrats are saying, we're only going to vote for that. That's it. That's the only thing we're going to support. So it looks like we may end up in a shutdown.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, let's go to Brian in Arvada. Good morning, Brian. You're on the Jeff and Ryan Armagost show.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, I think with this CR resolution, the CR, it shut it down. There's so many people now are just so sick of it. It's just shut it down. You keep every year, we're going to change, we're going to not vote, and it's CR after CR after CR. And I just say shut down every non-essential government.
Brian, kids with cancer are not
Right.
going to get the research they need because, and I want to help everybody understand this. What our brilliant elected officials do is lump everything in the budget together. So it is a yes on everything or a no on everything. And if Brian, in his reasonableness, says, well, I don't think we should be spending $100 million on Planned Parenthood, for instance, they can pay for it themselves. And you want to vote no on it, you are voting no on everything, including funding for our troops, our border patrol, and cancer research that's affecting kids. That's how stupid this all is.
Well, that's how the Democrats always frame it. They want it all lumped in so that if you say no to one thing, you're saying no to all the poor children and all the, grandma and grandpa benefits. So it's so ridiculous. The screen's off. We can see through this. It's time to vote individual bills. And that's just the only way to do it. And my other point in the Colorado GOP, I gave up on that a long time ago after they torpedoed Tancredo's bid governorship. And it's been a battle between the old guard and the new way, and we need both to win. But they both don't want to come to the table. But I think we made gains this time around, and that was under new leadership. So can we, even though I don't agree with new leaderships, everything they say, a little gaslighting on Dave Williams' side, still, he got a better result than we've gotten in the last 10 years. So can the old guard, like the Dick what not to do Wadhams, can they just go away and let the younger generation go in and stop telling us what not to do?
Well, Brian, to that point, I want to ask Ryan Armagost this. So, Ryan, you were part of the team that went out there, Rose Puglisi, to get new members elected. You were successful. You flipped 3 seats. Tell us about getting out there. What made the difference this time around?
I think the difference came in the counties that we were in, the grassroots, the coming together, the bringing people together. And it's unity. And, when we unite as a party and as a caucus, that's how we get people elected. When people see the divisiveness, it's constantly just, it just gets that same visceral reaction from everybody. And we don't need that in our own party. We need to focus that on the Democrats. We need to focus that on who we're trying to get out of the majority or super majority as we were in. So that's where I'm at.
Brian, I want to ask you this. Would you support Dave Williams for another term as chairman of the Colorado Republican Party?
I would, on just based on that. Well, he needs to be tempered a little bit, and that would be a stipulation. I didn't like in your face stuff with pride, because I've got friends and members of my family that are LGBTQ or whatever, all the letters. But so I'm not down with shoving it. Don't put it in my face, and he shouldn't be putting it in their face. So we need those people. We need it. So yes, I would if he tempers it down, but just based on results. Based on results, he got better results than everybody else. So we need the old guard and we need the new guard, but we need the new guard in control. And the old guard, it's time for you guys to step up and get on board like you've been telling us to do for the last 10 years and losing. Well, now we made some gains. Now you step up and get on board with the donors. And like I said, the Dick what not to do Wadhams need to go away. They really do. They're dragging the party down.
Now, Ryan Armagost, would you support Dave Williams for another term of leading the Colorado Republican Party?
I think for me to get behind Dave in everything that he's doing, I would have to see more unity. I think if Dave can bring forward a message and a platform that unites our party in this state, I would be 100% behind him. But he keeps frustrating that, I think, with just certain comments or otherwise credits or other things that are placed where they don't need to be placed. We need to focus on the victories we have, celebrate those, work on improving the losses that we take, and do that as a united Republican
Was
front.
the Republican Party as helpful as they could have been in this last election, getting these House members elected?
I didn't focus on any. I didn't see any help from the state party, but I didn't focus on any of that. We were so focused on the grassroots level of every district. Because in Northern Colorado, it tends to get ignored anyway. So we and the districts that I was helping in Northern Colorado, huge volunteer and just the base that was there was what stepped up and got those.
But does that mean that the candidates are kind of on their own right now to win, or is the state party there to be able to provide support when they need it?
Well, they should be there. All that I know is that we were focused on our efforts to help as our House Republicans, getting our people elected, getting the word out to their constituents, helping them get door to door and make face-to-face contact with their people that were voting for them. And we got those seats flipped.
Well, Brian, I really appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Brian from Arvada, his line will be open if you'd like to join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. So, Ryan, all right, you got 22. You got about 2 weeks before this thing kicks off, and you're gonna go toe to toe with the most progressive Democrats that Colorado has to offer in the Colorado House of Representatives. Tell us your strategy, what you expect, and how you're going to protect the people of Colorado.
Well, I think that the biggest thing for me is the name I made for myself coming in. I ran on a campaign 2 years ago, 2+ years ago, that I was going to be transparent. I was going to be open. I am the elected representative of the people's house. I'm the people's choice to be their voice. And I brought people to get their voices heard, because we had so many contentious bills where people were not being heard, and just getting them their voices heard, showing people how to get down to the Capitol. People have no idea. And, the lack of trust in the government, the whole ideology of we're the government, we're here to help. People know that's not the case. So the trust of the government is not there. And especially when we have stuff with Jenna Griswold and Jared Polis is going on, where it's just, there's a level of distrust and kind of a crooked ideology or perception of the people for their government. So giving people an open window through my social media and otherwise, just showing them, look, this is what so-and-so said on the House floor today. This is what so-and-so said in committee today. And people were just taken aback. No idea how messed up people were in legislation. And I think just knowing that they have somebody down there to fight that fight and really hold those people accountable and out them when they do or say stuff like that was heavily valued. And that's I went from law enforcement, where I thought I was in the most thankless job in the world, to legislation, where I was like, holy cow, that's just like hold my beer. But the only time I hear from constituents is when I do or say something wrong. And I'm just like, well, I'll take it. I understand everyone's frustrated with what's going on at the Capitol. I am too. But I wanted people to be as visible as possible, having their voices heard, letting them know what I'm doing down there, but also just showing them I'm going to hold these people accountable in every step that I'm taking and as their elected representative. I think that's what got me elected to whip, is just that I'm blunt. I'm out there. I make sure that I'm holding people accountable. I call them out when they're wrong, or when they do or say something inappropriate. But these people get away with just lying their way into legislation. The anti-gun bills, the anti-law enforcement bills, everything that goes through, they're exacerbating just false information and misinformation. So calling people out on that, when we have people like me and Gabe Evans, who were front lines, could actually speak to what the situation really was, I think that benefited. But there's just a level of, I think there's the gratitude, where people are just thankful that there is somebody down there speaking the truth holding those people accountable.
I want to ask you about Gabe Evans. So he's your district, was on the show regularly, beat Yadira Caraveo slightly. Let's talk about what you expect from him in Washington, D.C. He's your congressman.
Man. Yeah. Gabe and I campaigned together. We were definitely brothers in arms, and we had the same stump speech. I mean, it was law enforcement and military. Both of us would talk about the same values and where we came from. I was disappointed to see him leave. He had to vacate a seat to run for Congress. And I just said, man, you better win this, because if you lose that congressional race and I lose you in the House, then I'm the only cop in the legislature. That was going to be frustrating. So I'm glad everything turned out the way it did, and our voters came out in full force and got him elected into Congress. We have to work in tandem for our public safety and all the issues that me and Gabe both stand for similarly.
What do you think of that ballot initiative that's going to require money from the state legislature to go to a law enforcement fund? That passed, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So good. I mean, you were forcing the legislature to spend money in a certain direction. So it's not new money. It's going to come from the general fund. But do you like voters telling lawmakers where to spend the money?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In this case, I mean, we've had voters doing that look at the abortion measure that passed. You know, we have now taxpayers get to pay for abortion in our state. So we have these, if we're going to do that, and all the efforts that they make to defund the police and criminalize and demonize the police, here's something to lift them up, because I came from 10 years of that. I left just in time before things went really
Would you be a cop today in Colorado?
No, absolutely not. Hats off to anyone who's willing to wear the badge in this environment that we've put them in Colorado.
Why not?
It's toxic. We've empowered criminals so much in this state where law enforcement, their hands are tied. They have to just sit there and be completely verbally and often physically abused to a person they might be able to arrest for assaulting them, that is released the next morning with probation. So there's just no penalty.
I don't think there's another job ever like this. You watch these videos. Here you have somebody that has to practice tremendous patience, right? Like law enforcement, like crazy amount of patience, because everything's filmed.
Right.
So you slip up just a little bit, and that defense, or even a prosecutor could go after you for that. So you got to practice super patience to the point where you're literally like right about to lose your life.
Yeah.
And then every decision you make is raked over second by second. Did you use non-lethal? Did you try to talk them down a lot? Oh, you did use lethal. Then once you incapacitate whoever the nut job is that threatened your life, almost took your life, right? Then you actually have to work to save their life. I mean, look, what other job out there do we put that amount of pressure on somebody and expectations?
And the people that join law enforcement do it for the right reasons, of putting criminals and bad people in prison and away out of society. And when you have those officers that are doing that every day, and we don't have a DA in Larimer County that's like George that we talked to earlier, George Bauchler. Just, you have sex offenders who are completely soliciting, trafficking kids, doing horrible things with kids, and they end up getting off with probation. So they're out in the public, and the next day that same officer might have to arrest them for another crime, probably a similar crime, to know, wait, what's going on with our justice? This isn't why I got into this job, so that these people would just be open, revolving door in and out of jail, or not even go to jail. They just get a summons to appear in court for probation.
So the funding is a start, right? We've got, was it 300 million or something that's going to go into this, that's going to help. But at the end of the day, it's treatment, respect from DAs, from the general culture that really matters the most to law enforcement. Right?
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing that this will help with is that training, the help and ability for pay and retention for our officers in Colorado, because all of that needs to improve. But the biggest thing we need to focus on is who's in charge of where this money is going. Because if we aren't paying attention to who's controlling this checkbook to write, this could go to things that we don't want it to go to, that completely negate what we're trying to do. So we need to get the right people in front of this to make sure that they're putting the money where it needs to go to get it the outcome that we wanted.
Well, joining me today, filling in for Bill, has been Representative Ryan Armagost. He's got to get downtown to the Capitol to actually do the job he gets paid for. He was kind enough to spend time with us lowly radio hosts today. You did a wonderful job. Not only him, but he brought 3 of his friends, and those were the 3 Republicans that flipped Democrat House seats and got rid of the supermajority down there. That opens up a lot of things, including the ability to put something on a ballot. Mark Baisley texting us to remind us of that. So it's still crazy down at the state capitol, just not as crazy. Follow Ryan Armagost on X at repryanarmagost.com or Rep Ryan Armagost. That's REPRYAN, and then his last name is spelled ARMAGOST. Armagost. Rep Ryan Armagost. Well, when you're done serving the people down at state capitol, I think that you got a future in talk radio. So
Thank you.
Appreciate your time today. Our listeners appreciate a lot of great feedback from them on you, and we'll continue to watch down at the state capitol as you and the mighty 22 try to prevent Colorado from sinking further and further into progressive hellhole. But grateful for you, my friend. Thank you again. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson.
Hey, Jeff, thank you. 31 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 60 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
They got scared because President Musk told them, President Musk said, don't do it. Don't do it. Shut the government down. Imagine. What does he know?
Shut down, no shutdown. Bottom line, the entertainment provided by Lefty Rosadell Laurel from Connecticut is almost worth it. What a freak show.
The Batman.
You love her.
Oh, yeah. She looks like something out of the Penguin Batman type thing.
The what do we now? I already forgot it. The Ryan brought it up earlier this morning. The what is that cartoon?
Oh yeah, what was the
one of the characters?
Despicable Me.
Despicable Me.
Yeah, my son
Thank
is
you.
in the studio. Is noticing that.
Oh, he's which one? Who's in there?
This is J-Dog.
Oh, J-Dog. What's up, J-Dog?
J-Dog, the soccer player, student council.
Merry Chris. Oh yeah, man. He's
kid.
Yep.
Did you ever see the movie She's All That?
No.
Okay, you saw the movie. Yeah, he's the main character, and he's like got everything going on for him. Big man on campus.
No doubt. Say hello and Merry Christmas. All right, the House is set to vote soon on the funding bill to keep the government from shutting down. That's what Speaker Mike Johnson said this morning when walking into the Capitol. The House rejected a bill last night that saw almost 40 Republicans align with Democrats to vote against the proposal supported by DJT. Without legislation, the government will shut down tonight. President Biden looks like he almost shut down last night, canceled his trip to Delaware and came back to the White House. And Kamala Khan canceled her trip to L.A. and quickly headed to the White House because of the CR, or was it a security issue? Who knows?
I pledge to listen to experts.
Scott Jennings knows the communist regime is fraudulent.
It's the biggest scandal in America. The level and volume of people who dedicated themselves to lying to everyone at home about this man's condition for 4 straight years up through this summer is breathtaking. It's a scandal of epic proportions, and it's a fair question to ask: who is running the country? Who has been running the country? And as I said earlier, if you're worried about Donald Trump's advisors having influence, for the last 4 years, apparently this president, duly elected, but this president was not capable of fulfilling the duties of the office. And his staff and the White House lied about it and kept it from the American people. It's an absolute scandal.
As he walked back to the White House last night, a lot of people on social media said that that's the worst he has ever looked. So keep an eye on that. Amazon workers are on strike across the country. The Teamsters Union launched the strike against the company Thursday as Christmas quickly approaches. The union says it's the largest strike against Amazon in U.S. history. The Christmas travel rush is underway at airports across the country, including at DIA. TSA spokesman Patty Mancha says that they predict that holiday travel will exceed what was seen during Thanksgiving, which set records. She says that some of the top brass will be working the security lanes alongside the rank and file to get travelers safely on their way. President Biden is announcing more student loan relief. Corrupt Joe said that his administration is forgiving another $4.2 billion in student loans for nearly 55,000 public service employees. The FAA is temporarily banning drones over New York's critical infrastructure sites. The announcement Thursday comes after a similar ban over parts of New Jersey. Unidentified drone sightings have been rampant over the region in recent weeks, causing concern for many residents. The Chargers rallied to beat the Broncos 34-27 last night in an AFC West clash.
Herbert throws, caught, touchdown, Darius Davis. And the Chargers take the lead on a 19-yard touchdown pass.
Broncos will need a miracle, but they are not officially out of the playoffs yet. But the loss does not help. The Chargers came to life in the second half to win it. Broncos dropped to 9-6 and need ties or losses from Miami, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis to clinch. 28 in Castle Rock, 29 in Broomfield, 31 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue as Jeff continues, gets you ready for Christmas. TGIF, Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
No major travel concerns for Colorado and surrounding areas today, Saturday, Sunday, and probably Monday. By Monday, there may be some snow showers in the high country, but for the most part, very quiet, very mild December weather. Temperatures will be upper 50s to the middle 60s today, 50s and lower 60s for Saturday, Sunday, 50s Monday and Tuesday. Looking at more in the way of clouds Monday and Tuesday, there's a chance maybe of a few showers, cloudy and colder Christmas Day. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center. No major travel concerns.
I don't know if the weather's that frightful. A high of 60 today. 62 on Saturday. Oh, you gotta love me a little global warming. 62 on Saturday. Goodness, we might get a little bit of snow on Wednesday, but this is pretty warm. Nice mild day today. Enjoy it while you can. We're tracking the potential government shutdown happening. Today's the day. They got to figure it out. If they don't, by midnight tonight, we're going to be heading into a government shutdown. People on the text messages not opposed to it. So what do you think? You can join the conversation on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Now Democrats are asking for meetings with Musk and Ramaswamy. Fox reporting that Democrat senator out of Florida is saying that Elon Musk and Vivek have come up here, spent a lot of time talking to Republicans. How about they talk to us? Maybe a little envy going on over there. They want to hang out with those guys. But Chuck Schumer and the Democrats over in the Senate saying they will only pass the first bill, the 1,500-page monstrosity. So I thought we might be able to get something simple negotiated here. But as we get later into the morning, Democrats saying we want all the spending or we're not going to support it. It's got to get through the Senate too. So federal employees being told, get ready for furloughs coming. So we'll keep you up to date on all that. I do want to tell you about my good friend over at Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. This guy's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. That matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case, right? Dan is the son of a police officer, a former seminarian. He's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. You don't want to show up in these big contentious civil lawsuits with some attorney you just hired because you saw their face go by on a bus. No, hire somebody that's proven. Not only is he a good guy, listen to this. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win five straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. More than that, Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. In fact, Dan Kaplis Law is so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. You might say to yourself, well, I can't afford Dan Kaplis. Don't worry. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, right? Do you really want to be on the side of a road in an injury case or maybe slip and fall or whatever it might be, scrambling, Googling Dan Kaplis Law? No, right? Put the phone number in your phone. So when you're dealing with law enforcement, maybe first responders and paramedics, and God forbid somebody in your family's hurt, now you got to deal with insurance companies as well. All that, you want to be able to quickly get a hold of Dan Kaplis, build your team that's going to defend you and help you get through all this. Okay, so here's the phone number. 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplislaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill show. You're listening to News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Luigi Mangione is now in New York after waiving extradition in a Thursday court hearing in Pennsylvania. This hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Luigi Mangione is now in New York after waiving extradition in a Thursday court hearing in Pennsylvania. The 26-year-old is facing numerous felony charges in the Big Apple, including 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. The Ivy League grad was also hit with federal charges, including 2 counts of stalking, murder through the use of a firearm, and firearms offenses. The stalking charges focus on how Mangione allegedly crossed state lines with the intent to kill, injure, harass, intimidate, and surveil Brian Thompson. The complaint details the contents of a notebook that Mangione had in his possession when he was arrested, including, quote, several handwritten pages that express hostility toward the health insurance industry and wealthy executives in particular. According to the complaint, an entry on August 15th said, quote, the details are finally coming together and that the target is insurance because it checks every box. On October 22nd, it said 1.5 months. This investor conference is a true windfall. A little later, the intent to whack the CEO of one of the insurance companies was written. In a letter addressed to the feds, Mangione allegedly wrote, I wasn't working with anyone, and said his actions were, quote, self-funded. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Awayo, Salem News Channel.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
$50 gift cards from Rodizio Grill in Inglewood and downtown. Get them now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
I like Dolly Parton. Good pick. I'm surrounded by all these lovers of Christmas songs and poets. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy is out today. He's attending to some family requirements. So he'll be back Monday, and we'll get back into the debates and all that good stuff. Now, we did get a question about furloughs. You know, if Congress fails to pass the continuing resolution by the end of the day today, millions of federal workers could be heading into the holidays without paychecks, ABC is reporting. They could be furloughed. This includes members of the military as well as other government workers, such as TSA agents and air traffic controllers. Some contractors with the federal government are not guaranteed back pay like federal employees, which could have devastating consequences for workers living paycheck to paycheck. Others will get back pay. So it's really based upon the employees, but we'll have to see. We may be heading to that. So stick around with 710 KNUS throughout the day. Following us is Charlie Kirk, and then you have Dennis Prager and Sebastian Gorka and Larry Elder, the rest of them. They'll all be covering this on their shows. So, and then you can, of course, follow me on X at x.com/Jeff Hunt. We'll continue to provide updated news on that as well. So on Fridays, because it's been a hard and demanding week trying to keep our freedoms free in this country, especially in the state from all the crazy progressives, we like to saunter into the weekend, like we like to say, with a little cowboy poetry and Jeff Hildebrandt joining us live in studio.
I just need a little specification here.
Yes.
It's furlough.
Furlough.
Furlough. Okay, because I all this time thought it was furlough. So you just are told to go home and sit around.
Loaf around a little bit.
That's not what it is.
When you said furlough, I thought of like furry bread.
Furry bread, yeah. Well, let's not talk about that right before Christmas.
Not good. So he's got a few poems for us. We got one for the military, one on cookie exchange, and one the night before Christmas.
What are we starting Christmas? With? Well, let's start with that one. All right. It was the night before Christmas. And you know what they found? Not a room left to rent when they pulled into town. It was getting real late, but they'd come a long way, so he begged and he pleaded for some place to stay. He knocked on one door and made such a clatter, a man opened up to see what was the matter. And what to his bleary old eyes did appear but a couple whose need soon became very clear. The man said there's one place he thought just might do if they didn't mind sharing with a critter or two. And that night, in that barn, Joe's dear wife gave birth, and he swore he heard singing about peace on earth. Well, a little while later, there's a knock at the door, and some shepherds come in. They kneel down on the floor. It seems they'd been working when they heard the great news that there in the barn was born the King of the Jews. When they left, they paused briefly in that barn's candlelight to thank God for their present on that holy night. Well, the story goes on, and if you read through, you'll know how God wished Merry Christmas to you.
That is wonderful. Thank you for reminding us. And I do want to encourage people, if you've never really dived into the scriptures before with regards to the story of Christmas, Luke 1 and 2 is a good place to start.
Yeah. And it's not Luke Combs. That's different.
Yep, that's different. But Luke 1 and 2 is a good place to start. Now,
that's right.
Jeff, you serve in a church. Maybe people don't go to church too regularly and are a little nervous about going to church on Christmas Eve. They have some of those special services.
Yeah.
What would somebody expect walking into a church around this time?
Oh, golly, it depends on the church, actually. Now, the one that I attend down in Highlands Ranch, Cherry Hills, they have 3 different services, and I don't know what specifically is going to be entailed in the services, but I know that there will be the Christmas story will be told. And
similar to the poem you just read.
What about it?
Well, it's similar.
Well,
similar.
Yeah.
Similar story.
Maybe.
Will be told.
We'll see. Who knows? I don't know, but they have a lot going on that is fun.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a lot to celebrate.
We have a skating rink in the church. It's acrylic. Yeah. Wait, no, it's not ice. It's an acrylic
Zamboni?
indoor.
It's the church Zamboni?
No, well, no, it's ham bony, and you can get it here. It's honey baked, but oh my, where am I going with this? Anyway, there's like cocoa and all this kind of stuff between services for the people that come. As a matter of fact, it was up on Tuesday, and I serve at the food pantry.
Yeah,
on Tuesday, manna, and so we invited all the people who came to get food. If they wanted to, they could go over, and some of them did. Good. You know, it's great. These people from Venezuela, they've never been skating before, and so they're over there bouncing around. It was nice. Yeah.
Well, and this is something to tell everybody that generally, if you walk into a church, you're going to be welcomed.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, so if you're a little nervous, never been to a church service on Christmas, go check it out.
You know,
actually be quite a good time.
All you have to do is sit there and listen.
That's all you have to do.
That's all that's required. Nobody wants you to raise your hands, and if you raise your hands, they'll see if you have a question. Yeah. But other than that, you know, it's pretty calm.
You know, people don't attend things, they don't join things as much as they should. This is a good weekend to go check it out. You got another poem for us?
I do. This is I served in the military along with, you know, probably 3 or 4 people out there listening. But let me just start here. Okay. This is called God Bless Ye Weary Sentinels. You may recognize the meter. God bless the soldiers leaving us and going on their way for Christmas in some foreign land where it's no holiday. They go to help bring peace on earth, which angels did proclaim. They bring tidings of comfort and joy. God bless ye weary sentinels and keep you safe, we pray. Now you must leave your family and miss the holiday. The job is worth your sacrifice. We're with you all the way. We sing tidings of comfort and joy. Well, the people all around the world are why that baby came so long ago in Bethlehem, and it would be a shame for us to turn our backs on them while worshiping his name. So take tidings of comfort and joy. Your compassion brings them comfort and joy.
That's great. Thank you. What'd you do in the Army?
Well, there were a lot of potatoes that needed. I was in a rifle battalion.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of different things. I spent a lot of my time because I learned in high school. Josh, you'll appreciate this. Because I learned in high school how to type. They put me in the training office.
Yeah.
And so I was a non-commissioned training NCO is what I was. Right. And I did all the training schedules for the troops while we were actively training.
Wow. Did you write poetry when you were in the Army?
No, I wrote a lot of things, but poetry wasn't one of them.
Well, we're talking with Jeff Hildebrandt, our Cowboy Poet Laureate here at 710 KNUS, as we like to on Fridays, as we saunter into the weekend. He's got one more for us. We'll get to it next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
RockyMountainBargains.com, where you'll always pay half price. Why pay retail when you can get what you want at 50% off? Just go to RockyMountainBargains.com and save. Here's this week's featured item.
$50 gift cards from Rodizio Grill in Inglewood and downtown. Get them now for half price.
Get it now at RockyMountainBargains.com for 50% off. RockyMountainBargains.com, where you always pay half price. Restrictions apply. Go to RockyMountainBargains.com for complete details.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy's out today. He'll be back on Monday. Don't worry. Like we do on every Friday, we like to saunter into the weekend with our Cowboy Poet Laureate, Jeff Hildebrandt.
And like I did last Friday, I'll interrupt you just to make you feel at home with Bill. Don.
You know the show.
Anyway, I'm gonna wrap up with this thought. And most people, I think, have experienced going somewhere and having a cookie exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And, what do you think of in the cookie exchange? You're going to get cookies. You're going to eat. Then you're going to go on a diet afterwards. Anyway, but I was thinking one day as I was eating sugar cookies, just is there more to a cookie exchange than the cookies? So in this Christmas season, you know what that means? Homemade cookies and festive scenes like Rudolph and friends pulling Santa's big sleigh over trees representing this holiday. At the cookie exchange, there are butterscotch bars, iced sugar cookies cut out as stars or angels and shepherds, complete with a lamb, chocolate chip, gingerbread, thumbprints with jam. Well, a cookie exchanged with a stranger or friend can really be more like a means to an end. You can share snickerdoodles while sharing good news of lives that are changing right there in your pews. And a ribbon of spritz with cocoa or cider can lead to a witness about the provider, the creator and savior who brought about change. Salvation can come from the cookie exchange.
I love that. That is great. Jeff Hildebrandt, Poet Laureate. By the way, if you go to
now
Amazon.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, right. Those are a lot better than the cookies that Jared Polis was talking about the other day in his video. Don't even Google it. It's weird. Jeff Hildebrandt is a Poet Laureate. Great gift if you're looking for that last-minute stocking stuffer called Riding for the Boss and the Brand, Riding for the Boss and the Brand over on Amazon. His last name spelled Hildebrandt. Jeff Hildebrandt, sitting there on a horse looking all good on your Amazon profile. Other books there, Gunsmoke Memories, A View from the Pew. Good little stocking stuffers, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we're continuing to track the government shutdown that's taking place there. Top House Democrats now saying the lines of communication have been reopened. Hakeem Jeffries saying on Friday that with hours dwindling down to avoid a partial government shutdown, we're working as hard as we can, and they're open to conversation. So what do you think? Are we going to end up in a government shutdown? You can text us here at the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. We've had an absolutely wonderful show. Ryan Armagost filling in for Bill today. We talked with Rebecca Keltie, Ryan Gonzalez, George Bauchler, Dan Woog. All of that available at 710knus.com. If you want to download the podcast there. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.